that the public has an opportunity when we began a process on a bill to be included with their voice. So we do have a lot of speakers, and we will take time to hear all of them. We also know that let me welcome the new members to the committee. So we have additional committee members, which means that we will be taking a little extra time with the HUD's committee meetings because everybody has to have their voice. So I'm hoping that we all have patience and respect for each other today. There's the list that was printed before you for roll call is not in its order by seniority, and it should be. And so I have revised mine. When I call you to speak, you will be called based on seniority so that you won't have any confusion about looking at the list. The next thing too is, where am I at here? Is that we want to make sure that today, normally I let people just, talk as long as they want to on public speaking, but we really must respect and include everyone today that has signed up. And so we will adhere to the 3-minute stop time. And I regret it, but we want to make sure everybody is heard. So as we move forward, let's start with the first item that I have listed here as I rearrange things to try to respect all the requests that came before me. And the first one will be Alderwoman Ingracia with Board Bill number 123.
Thank you so much, Madam Chairwoman, members of the committee. Today we have before us Board Bill 123. This proposal would direct a supplemental appropriation from the Northside Regeneration Funds in order to reimburse the St. Louis City soccer team for substantial work they did for the Market Street rebuild. That money, the reimbursement cost is approximately $1.6 million. And I have attorneys for both the soccer team and SLDC here, along with Rob Orr from SLDC. I'm happy to take questions from the committee, and they are available for any more detailed information as well.
Alderwoman Ingracia, what I would like to do is please allow you to conduct this part of it. And so you shall call your speakers as you would like to have them heard, and we will accommodate. Thank you.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I think it's pretty cut and dry in terms of the reallocation of these funds from, it's a supplemental appropriation. It's just redirecting the money that we already allocated for public projects in fiscal year 2023 budget to take that money and redirect it to the soccer team to pay them back for the work that they did. And I'm happy to take questions from the committee, and I have speakers here who are available to make sure that if there's something technical that I'm not able to answer for some reason, that they are here.
Okay, could I ask your speakers, I know one is staff, but the other attorneys, could I ask them please to open their mics so I can swear them in so that if they're needed, they'll already be sworn in. Please open your mic.
Recording in progress.
Okay, do you solemnly swear that the information you provide will be true to the best of your knowledge? And you can affirm that with yes or whatever you feel comfortable with.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Okay, I heard too. So that affirms that. Thank you very much. We shall move on, and I'll start with the committee list for you. Is that okay? All
Absolutely.
right. Let's, Alderman Kotar, I didn't hear him answer. We'll move on, Alderman Cone. He's not with us yet. Alderwoman Boyd.
I have no questions.
Okay. Alderman Narine.
Just a brief question. Thank you, Madam Chair. Alderwoman from the 6th, are we just kind of finalizing a process that's been in play for a long time? Was this work done with the expectation of this reimbursement?
Absolutely. Yeah, it was codified under ordinance that the MLS team, because of the nature of their timeline being a bit more quick in terms of wanting to get the stadium ready for play and the city's timeline, there was an agreement made that the soccer team would undertake the work and then the city would pay them back for it.
Okay, so if we don't approve this today, then I imagine that SLDC will be talking more with those lawyers then.
Yeah, that would be unfortunate, but probably true.
Okay, that's all I need. Thank you.
Okay. Alderman Gunther.
No questions today. Thank you.
Okay. Alderwoman Evans.
No questions, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Alderman Todd.
Question, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay. Alderwoman Peel.
No questions. Thank you.
Alderman Gross. Alderman Gross. Alderman Lappy.
No questions. Thank you.
Alderwoman Keys.
Thank you, Madam Chair. No questions.
Alderwoman Walker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. No questions.
Okay, thank you. Are there any hands raised from any of the other alderpersons? I saw a couple that are not on the committee. Alderman Stevens, any questions?
No, ma'am. Thank you, though.
Okay. I saw yours quickly. Anybody else? Any other alderperson? Just please open your mic if you have a question. Seeing none, I'd like to go back to you, Alderwoman Ingracia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would just close and ask for the committee's favorable consideration of Board Bill number 123.
The chair will entertain a motion, please.
I motion.
Go ahead.
I motion that we close.
Do you move to adopt?
I move to
Board Bill
adopt.
number 123.
Okay, I move to adopt Board Bill 123.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Alderman Cone. Alderman Kotar. Alderwoman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderman Ryan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Evans.
Aye.
Alderman Gunther.
Aye.
Alderman Todd.
Aye.
Alderwoman Peel.
Aye.
Alderman Gross. Alderman Lappy.
Aye.
Alderwoman Keys.
Aye.
Alderwoman Walker. Aye. Chair Davis.
Aye.
Alderman Cone. Alderman Kotar. Alderman Gross. 10 aye votes.
You okay?
Mm-hmm.
You need help?
Okay.
Okay,
Madam Chair, I have a point of order.
sure.
I know that you had said that you had rearranged the list by seniority, and I just wanted to point out that the alderman from the 9th is senior to me.
You know what? I have that written here and didn't read it right. Thank you for bringing it to my attention.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay,
I could be, I'm not sure. I could be, have more seniority than another alderperson. I don't want to be offensive.
and who do
That's
you believe
right.
that is, sir?
I believe it's Alderwoman for the 4th. I think I was there when the late Alderman Moore was there, so that's why I think. I could be wrong, but
No, you are so right, Alderman
Okay.
Todd.
okay then, because I'm wrong so much till y'all give me a C all the time, and I didn't want to get that D today.
Oh, you are
You are
so
so
right
right.
today. But you were so
Mhm.
right today. How about that?
Okay, Madam Chair, this can transfer over to a lot of stuff, but I need to make up for my bad grades. You can put that. Yeah,
All
good
right.
point.
So we're good now. I
Thank you,
appreciate
Madam
that.
Chair. Thank you.
Okay. Let's see here. One of the things, now we've just passed Board Bill number 123 with a do pass recommendation. And we thank you all for that. Alderwoman Ingracia. Okay. So we'll move on to the next one, and that will be Board Bill number 125. And usually I would not do this. I would do my bills last, but there's a request because we know Dr. Mati has some other appointments she has to make. And so I'm going to ask, who do we have here? Koto's not here. Alderman Cone is not here. And so the next person would be Alderwoman Boyd. I would like to ask you to chair while I do Board Bills number 125 and 129.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
So you want to do which one first?
Board Bill 125, please.
Okay, we have Board Bill 125. Alderwoman Davis will present that bill to us, please.
Thank you very much. Board Bill number 125 has been vetted very well, I believe, over the last few months. And what I will do is I will not do anything but ask the secretary if she would just read the preamble, so we'll make sure that we know what we're discussing. And then I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Mati. Madam Clerk.
Board Bill number 125, introduced by Alderwoman Marlene Davis, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, appropriating a portion of funds received under the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, Pub License number 117-2, March 11, 2021, ARPA, authorizing certain expenditures of such funds to the extent received, authorizing contracts and other documents to expand the funds to the extent received, containing a severability clause and containing an emergency clause.
Thank you very much. And good morning, Dr. Mati.
Morning, Alderwoman Davis. Thank you so much for having me and for your consideration of my time. Thank you for handing it over to me. Because this is under the economic justice portion of this bill, I will ask our Chief of Staff, Jared Boyd, to begin, and then I will follow.
Thank you very much. Mr. Boyd.
Good morning, distinguished members of the committee. Thank you for allowing us to come today. It probably was a better idea to have Dr. Mati present because I think she's probably better at many things than we are. But honored to be before you again. The economic justice appropriation previously came to this committee and was voted on by the board. Unfortunately, during the transition between Board of Aldermen presidents, some administrative duties were lost in the shuffle, and unfortunately, the bill was not properly sent to Board of Estimate and Apportionment before it was final passed by the board. So based upon city charter, it has to come back before the Board of Aldermen for appropriation and start the process in a proper legal fashion. So I will offer that we have discussed it thoroughly before. I am excited to discuss any portions of the bill that have previously been discussed, or if you have new questions about the appropriation that were previously discussed. We are incredibly excited to start this work that is long overdue in many of our communities that have been disinvested, both in North St. Louis and in Southeast St. Louis. So with that, I don't want to, like I say, belabor my points if people are comfortable with the bill, but at the same time want to provide the committee with the opportunity to ask any questions that they may have not been able to answer either during the previous committee hearing or for folks who are not on the committee, or even during full debate for this bill. But out of respect for the committee, I'm not going to assume either way, so I will yield my time to Chairwoman Davis on this matter.
And I thank you very much for that consideration. One of the things that I do want to remind everyone, even if you were not on this committee when this was discussed previously, one of the things that the administration took time to do was to speak with us individually and or in small groups about this. And so many folks had an opportunity to have input if they were interested in doing so. If I'm not correct, please correct me, but I know that that did take place. Thank you. So I appreciate that. And now I think we can go back to Dr. Mate.
Chairwoman and Board, the bill that I will be speaking as a part of is Board Bill 116. So out of respect for the fact that I'm not really accustomed to how things go, I just wanted to see if this would be the appropriate time.
And that is another confusion. This is a very unusual meeting. There's so much going on.
Right.
So Board Bill 116 actually has a new board number, which is 125.
Oh, okay.
I was just
I'm not
gonna
sure.
ask about that. I was like,
I wasn't sure
yeah.
why it was listed, but I just wanted to clarify it and knew that I could eliminate it in this meeting. And I know that our board staff, they've got a lot going on. Everybody's trying to file bills and change bills, and things are just moving so fast. So we can talk about Board Bill 125. And Dr. Mate, you can continue.
So again, I apologize for the confusion. The schedule that I was given is that the board bill that I was a part of, which is Working Family, would have a few speakers, including me. So I was just wondering if someone from the mayor's office could advise at this time.
I'm going to leave it up to the chief of staff. Unfortunately, there were too many people involved going back and forth. And as I shared with them, the only entities that can change things and or put things in its proper form on the agenda for these committees is the board clerk and the clerk's office. And I do know that there is some confusion, and I tried to continue to send people back to the board clerk.
Sure. If I may, Madam Chair, I will defer to your wisdom in the sense of if you think there needs to be a robust debate on Board Bill 125, which is before the committee, then I would be fine with holding over this bill until after 116 is heard, because I am mindful of the fact that we do have a lot of our healthcare workers, including Dr. Mate and other FQHC leaders who do incredibly important work every day and are here today. If you do not believe, or the committee is not of the opinion that there's not going to be robust debate on this topic, then I would humbly request that we vote on this matter and then move to 116 and allow Dr. Mate and the other healthcare leaders to talk about their portion first. But I will, like I say, defer to your wisdom on those two options.
We can talk about Board Bill 116 now. We'll leave it up to the board clerk to clean it up after the committee is over with. And so, Dr. Mate, please move forward on Board Bill 116. And your speakers that are attending, you can introduce them.
Thank you so much for your consideration, Chairwoman Davis. I will pass it back to the Chief of Staff for Board Bill 116, as he will be introducing, and I'm only later in the program. Apologies for the confusion, and thank you so much for your consideration today.
So with respect to Board Bill 116, we have referred to this portion of ARPA as the Working Families ARPA appropriation, and I am not going to belabor an entire introduction and perspective on the process, including 5,000 surveys and numerous town halls and other forms of input that went into our ARPA appropriation process and the Working Families component. What I will say is there is a $13 million portion of this process that was requested by our FQHCs in order to get an additional $16 million from the state for capital improvements. So by appropriating $13 million of city ARPA funds, we'll be able to get $16 million in state ARPA funds for 4 of our FQHCs in the city. In addition to that, there are additional funds for behavioral health, which is sorely needed. And along those lines, I will go back to Dr. Mahdi and our FQHC leaders and Alderwoman and whomever else is needed to discuss the public health portions of the Working Families appropriation. And then I'm happy to give an overview over kind of the entire bill.
Okay, before we get started on your speakers, could I ask the speakers, because most of them are not city employees, to open their mics and I'll swear them in collectively. Do you solemnly swear that the information that you provide, this testimony to this committee, is the truth and nothing but the truth, and you can affirm in the position you feel comfortable?
Yes.
I do. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I do.
Thank you very much. Okay. Dr. Mahdi, you can call your speakers as you see fit.
Thank you, Chairwoman Boyd. So I will speak to the first portion of the bill. We are requesting funding for both behavioral health and for animal care and control within the Department of Health, both of which are high priority. As you well know, behavioral health has become, has always been an area of priority, and there are many parts of it that have been exacerbated through the COVID-19 pandemic. We will be utilizing those funds to help support the new Behavioral Health Bureau that we announced earlier 2 months ago. As you well know, this bureau will try to meet the incredible needs of the city as it pertains to the behavioral health needs. Top amongst those priorities being the opioid crisis, which has been plaguing our cities for many years, and for which this year we have seen an incredible spike in cases that disproportionately affect Black and Brown communities in St. Louis, specifically in North St. Louis and parts of South St. Louis. We have already assembled a team that has been working on the strategic plan and the implementation, has convened a task force, but these dollars will allow for operational funds, programmatic funding, as well as the ability to fund much needed community and grassroots organizations, many of whom have been leaders in behavioral health care in Black and Brown communities for years, but just require support in order to do their critical work. As it pertains to animal care and control, we are requesting funding to support the animal care and control needs of the city. This bureau, which sits within the Department of Health, has been in crisis for a few years now. Very understaffed. When I joined this When I joined cabinet a year ago, we only had 2 people working for the entire city. We are in dire need of high quality partnerships in the city to ensure that we are able to meet the needs of the entire city as it pertains to this critical need. I will stop there. We have with us guests today who will speak on behalf of the FQHCs, whose request you heard from the Chief of Staff previously. We have with us Dr. Melissa Tepe, who is the designee for the FQHCs. I'd just like to confirm that that is the case with Andwele Jolly, who is the CEO of IHN, is with us today.
Correct. Thank you, Dr. Mahdi, and the pleasure to be here on behalf of the FQHCs and in partnership with the Missouri Primary Care Association. I will turn to Dr. Melissa Tepe to give an opening statement as it pertains to the request for the $13 million of investment for the health centers.
Good morning, Madam Chairperson and the committee, our partners. Thank you for having us. My name is Dr. Melissa Tepe. I am the Chief Medical Officer at Affinia Healthcare, and I am an OBGYN by training and still practice. Happy to be here to talk about these much needed investments for our community. For a little bit, I've been an OBGYN at Affinia for over 13 years now. I see patients at the Lemp location. And to put a bit of a human and citizen touch on this, right, our neighbors, I'm an OBGYN. I've delivered thousands of our city's babies and have the privilege to do so. I love what I do. We know, for example, right, that maternal mortality is unacceptably high, especially among African-American women and other historically marginalized groups of women. Community health centers innovate, right? We are patient-centered. So for example, we now have group prenatal care. Helps to enhance those relationships, helps to possibly get to some of the biases that clinicians may have if you are not the same, right, or similar to your patients. We know it improves the outcomes for Black moms and their babies. And so in doing this, community health centers really are at the forefront of care so that it's trauma-informed, patient-centered, behavioral health is integrated into that care and that health outcomes are improved with health equity truly at that focus. And I can tell you the women I care for in group are some of the women I still know the very best to this day. I still see them. I started groups 10 years ago or more, maybe at this point. I still see them. We're all in different phases of our lives now. They still ask about each other, which I think also speaks to the importance of community and trusting relationships in healthcare, all leading to better outcomes. I will also say, you know, we care for people when they are at times at their darkest places, in loss, in grief, trauma, substance use, behavioral health disorders, cancers, and it's that innovative and especially the integrated approach to the whole person that really, I think, shines through at a community health center. You might be here for medical services, but I'm able to give you a warm handoff to behavioral health supports, to substance use, to dental care, to understanding the social determinants of health for food access or housing, employment, and all of these programs, all of them, all for the community health centers. This funding helps to invest in all of those things. And we are across your city and we care for our most vulnerable neighbors. So finally, just to say that while I represent an employee of Affinia Healthcare, we all have a similar mission. We all center our patients in the community, the folks that are in the most need for comprehensive medical care, which includes behavioral health and substance use and dental. We integrate in those expanded services for social determinants of health. We look at violence. We look at workforce development and employment, and we want our neighborhoods to be safe. And in the end, We know the very high quality care that happens in our community health centers. We want to be able to expand that. And we also want to be proud of the facilities that we are in when we take care of our patients. And we want our patients to be proud of where they are being taken care of. And so with that, I thank you very much for your time. I thank you for the partners and all the alder people on this call. Dr. Mahdi, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Melissa Tepe. I would like to acknowledge the CEOs of all of our FQHCs who are here with us today. Dr. Dwayne Butler, Angela Claymon, Alan Freeman, and Robert Massey, who have been tireless advocates for healthcare for the most disenfranchised. There's no person that they turn away, and their commitment to coming together in a collaborative way, reducing silos, and showing this level of partnership is exemplary. Anytime I call, they answer. And so I just wanted to acknowledge them and thank you, Dr. Melissa Tepe, for putting into words the importance of this work. Chairwoman Davis, I will take any questions at this time.
Okay. Alderwoman Boyd.
I was gonna say, you want me to, I know it's hard.
You're chairing right now.
Right.
You know, I'm like a robot.
I
had to stop myself from talking.
That's what I said. Well, she just took it. So, okay, go ahead.
Sorry.
That's okay. And so I don't have the list in front of me. So does any committee members have any questions for Dr. Mahdi or any of the speakers that have spoken? Shane, Alderman Cone, I'm sorry. You have a question?
Thank you. So are we discussing Board Bill 116 as a whole, or are we just speaking and asking questions relative to one section of it? Board Bill 116 has a lot of expenditures listed in the exhibit other than the FQHCs.
Right, we're doing each piece. And so Dr. Mahdi, she had to leave, so that's why she came on first.
Oh, understood. Okay. I don't have any questions relative to the behavioral health or animal care and control, or the FQHCs for that matter. I'm very excited about the possibility of expanding FQHCs in the city of St. Louis. I think that this represents a, kind of once in a generation opportunity. We don't have very many of those that come along, but certainly appreciate all of the efforts of everyone in our community to have positive health outcomes for our residents. So thank you to those that are here today, and look forward to working with you all in the future.
Okay, I'm going to call as I see them on the screen because I don't have the who's first, who's second. So I'll call it on that level because I'm not being disrespectful to anybody, but I have to, where I see them, then that's how I'll call you. Alderman Narayan, do you have any questions?
No questions. Thank you.
Okay, Alderman Gunther.
Thank you, Alderwoman Boyd. I just wanted to say to Dr. Tepe, you say you're from the LEMP facility. Wonderful. So I just want to mention that that is in the 9th Ward. Years ago when I was uninsured, that was my health facility back when it was called Grace Hill. Are there any plans for expansion at that facility, or it seems like you guys are actually pretty well now that the dental program has moved out of there and has moved over to I guess it's over on Lafayette or Park Avenue now. Yeah, Park. Do you have plans for any other expansion at that LEMP facility?
Alan Freeman, Dr. Freeman, you want to take that?
Oh, certainly. Alderman, thank you for the question and good morning, everyone. Madam Chair, my deference to you as well, ma'am. Hello. At 2220 LEMP, that's a facility, by the way, that Affinia Healthcare purchased from the city about 10 or 11 years ago, Alderman and others. And we do have tentative plans. These have not been approved by our board of directors, but for the expansion of 2220 Lemp by approximately 6,000 square feet. And what's at issue there is whether we would be able to capitalize the cost for the increase of that, the size of that facility beyond our current renovation plans. The renovation of 2220 Lemp will be complete by the end of 2023, and we will be able to accommodate more family practice and related services, sir. So that's more, let's put that as more later. It is potentially an option for increase of the size of our Lemp location, but that's an initiative that our board of directors has asked to table until we can understand our capitalization better, sir. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I just, you know, I ride by that facility multiple times a day. You have a very large vacant lot right in front of it on Gravois. And I was hoping that one day you would be able to expand into that area. I know every day when I go by, there are lines of cars. So the facility is highly used. So yes, you answered my question. And if there's anything I could do to help support that expansion, let me know. So thank you. No further questions.
Thank you, Alderman Gunther. Alderman Lampy, do you have any questions?
No questions for this portion. Thank you.
Okay. Alderwoman Evans? We can't hear you. You're on mute.
Just 1 second.
We can hear you now.
You can hear, okay. No questions at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderwoman Keys?
Thank you. No questions at this time.
Alderman Gross? Okay. Alderman Stevens?
I have no questions, but could I lend some of my own professional experience to the conversation?
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds much more official than it is, but I wanted to highlight, first I wanted to thank Dr. Tepe for being here, as well as Mr. Alan Freeman. But not only does Affinia Healthcare provide vital health resources, but I mean, overall, it's a sort of approach the whole family and consider the whole family approach to medicine. And when I was with St. Louis Public Library's early childhood outreach team, I partially oversaw a program called it was a baby book program, right? So you got a little lunchbox and some early childhood literacy tips and some board books and all that. And it was Affinia Healthcare that we had our greatest outreach into the community through. So I wanted to thank Dr. Tepe here and for speaking, not only as a citizen, but as a professional and participating in the legislative process. But I want to highlight that Affinia Healthcare is so much more than just health. And the scope of their work is so much greater than what the already vast field of medicine and behavioral medicine and all the different types of medicine that I am not qualified to speak on can serve. So just to put that into perspective and to thank them specifically at the Lemp location, because my center was Grace Hill Broadway, which is now an Urban League Head Start. But I mean, y'all are right down the street, but you were all across the city in your reach and your impact. So thank you. And I absolutely rise in support of Board 16 to a greater extent too. Thank you, Madam Chair and Madam Temp Chair.
Thank you. Gosh. Do you have any questions, Alderman Todd?
Oh, I do not. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Alderwoman Peel, do you have any questions?
I just want to say that I support this bill. Dr. Tepe, thank you for what you expressed. I mean, this is just so important for the community to expand and be stronger here in terms of healthcare. And I really like in terms of, I've been working on the opioid crisis. And so having that added to this particular board bill is so important. So thank you.
Alderwoman Walker.
No questions at this time, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Alderman Gross.
No question. Thank you.
Okay. I have a couple of questions, Dr. Monty, because I think she kind of knows where my heart is also. With the animal care, in regards to the dollars that you are getting, you say you want to look at increasing staffing. So how have you all looked at how to, improve that staffing and the housing and the stray issue? Do you have a plan for that, or?
Alderman Boyd, thank you for that question. We've been working closely with community advocates, certain members of this esteemed group, as well as the mayor's office, to try to identify how we can address this issue. This level of disinvestment has been many years in the making, and so it is not an issue that we can overcome immediately. For me to come in and have 2 staff members for the entire city must impress upon you the depth of the issue. We also have an overcrowding issue. We also need to address housing as well. So there are multiple avenues that we are going to partake. This money will not be enough to address all of those, but will make a formidable start. We would like to and have met with groups that are interested in, if funds are making available, contracts and subcontracts with the Department of Health to address some of those issues. We also will be in a position to help support our current contractor, CareSTL, in being able to serve the city in this way. And lastly, we've been working with the Department of Personnel on innovative strategies to recruit folks here in the city. But you know me, I'm a straight shooter. It's not going to be an easy road. We don't have competitive salaries. We don't get a lot of applicants. Training, once people get here, is 6 months before we can leave people alone, because this is difficult and oftentimes dangerous work, and we have to make sure people are safe. So there's a lot of barriers to being able to build the type of force that we need within animal care and control. But in trying to engage a lot of the animal activist groups in really hearing and sitting down with CareSTL's board and leadership and figuring out the issues, we are trying to address those one step at a time. But specifically, this money will go towards contracts and subcontracts to help support the staffing issues so that we can meet more of the city's needs. This will take time and a lot more investment.
Okay, thank you. And then I did have my secretary reach out to the health department and other agencies, because I too am adamant about animal safety. And so I wanted to meet to see how we could start looking at this in a strategic way, because I do know your hands are tied because you have little to no staff. And so it comes to a point where we have residents that's actually like taking on animals to keep them from being killed or hurt in the street. So anything I can do, let me know, because I'm really ready to do that, because I am an advocate of animals. But the other part, I'm confused because, and it's not for Dr. Mahdi, it's for Ms. Claiborne or Dr. Tip, because they said Care St. Louis Health, and then they said Aphenia. So are they combined, or what is that? Is that 2 different agencies? Because I thought they were 2 separate agencies.
So I can try to clarify the proposition. All 4 of the FQHCs in the city have come together and are willing to work together in a unified approach to using these dollars as it pertains to all the issues that Dr. Tepe put before you. She was just the designee speaker. So this represents the work of all 4 of the esteemed FQHCs in our city.
Okay, and so as Alderman Gunther and other aldermen stated, I too have a Care St. Louis Health in my ward. And so I'm hearing, I know these dollars, because the city needs dollars forever. So it's never enough money. But with Care St. Louis Health, I wanted to know what was the plan for the Riverview site. And so how are you looking? Because me and Ms. Claiborne did have a conversation about that site, and I know some of the challenges. So could you all kind of tell me what your plan is for that site? Because I'm seeing more usage over there and more people, and my seniors rely on this site. So I just wanted to know, what is your future plans for the Riverview site?
Good morning, Alderman and Alderman Boyd. Thank you for your great support for all the alderpersons to know at Caristeel Health. Our board strategy is to replace the two health centers that we received from the city of St. Louis, which is our Whittier location, formerly Homer G. Phillips Hospital, and our Riverview location, which is our Riverview site that's in your ward. The Whittier location, we have been working very hard on. That's our wellness campus. And so Alderman Boyd, the board has voted to actually, we looked hard to find a new replacement site, and you worked hard to try to get us to school. And so now our strategy to actually use the land and to replace that site with a new land. The board voted to not remove services from that area. For the all the persons to know, our study has demonstrated that 95% of the low-income persons that are in that ward utilize that health center. And so it is a great need in those services. And the reason why this is so important for us, if we can receive match funds and funds from other sources, then we can redirect funds to expedite the replacement and the renovation of our Whittier, of our Riverview location. It is very urgent for both sites. In great need in North St. Louis. And so we are working very hard on that, Alderman Boyd. It is a priority for the board as well to stay in that area and to bring state of the art in that area as well.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Because I'm a fighter for my site. That's my site. So Alderman Todd, did you have your hand up? We can't hear you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I sure did. I rise in support of this Board Bill 116 and several reasons. One is and several of my constituents have called me about pit bulls chasing them. And I called and went out to the animal control. They said, we can't do anything because we only have 2 people. Well, and then I took my wife, who is disabled, I have to be honest, out in a wheelchair. Here come 2 pit bulls. I mean, they could have attacked me and her, but what is the point? We definitely need more people in animal control. We got people, the same thing with opioid addiction. We just had one of our constituents who had a drug problem, a different one, but any form of a drug, not a constituent, but our former colleague said he had a drug problem, but any addiction or any drug problem, we must address it. And one of the reasons is because it's more expensive not to address it to the taxpayer. And I think, and so that's the other reason. And so I rise and support of this bill because there'll never be enough money. But most of the majority of the money has been put into so-called public safety, into the public safety department. I don't want to be slandering anyone, but these issues, until they address, we cannot be safe. We will not be safe because if a pit bull can bite me, a pit bull can bite my constituents or run me away and keep me from getting to my car. Of course, it's happening to other people too. So that is my personal experience, as well as walking down the street on several occasions, looking at the dogs and then driving through the ward when people call me and the animal control says, look, we got 2 people. So of course, a whole city of almost 300,000 people, 2 people cannot handle it. Because what happens if 8 hours a day, 2 people, well, the other 16-hour pit animals, and we had some people to get bitten and killed by some dogs. So this should be priority for Board Bill 116. And thank you, Madam Chair, and I yield back.
Thank you, Alderman Todd. Does anybody else have any questions or comments? Okay, Alderwoman Davis, it's back to you.
Thank you very much. One of the things I wanted to do was to applaud the services over the years. And I have to give a shout out to my friend. Alan knows that we go all the way back to Grace Hill, and he has been a champion for healthcare, and most especially a champion for underserved communities. And I appreciate all that all of the medical centers are doing for us. Myrtle Hilliard was very much a part of my life and raising my children. It was only a block away to walk to, and any service that we needed, we could get there. Even though I had health care with my job, we know that sometimes that costs so much and you have to spend so much to get the service. Our clinics really do provide a great service. And with Myrtle Hilliard, in honor of all that they did to help me and my father open the first neighborhood clinic in Tampa, Florida, all that experience and knowledge came from St. Louis, and we were able to do it there. And I do appreciate having these services, and everything that we can do in any way that we can get additional funding needs to happen. So I wanted to just say thank you to everybody. I have put in the chat that my confusion has been eliminated with Board Bill 116. I wanted to make sure everybody knew it. I'm always the first person to tell them myself. Okay. Next, I wanted to ask before I close, I wanted to ask our Chief of Staff, Jared Boyd, did you have an amendment sent over for this bill?
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, I believe submitted a committee sub for the bill. And that was provided to the committee yesterday within the.
Okay, yesterday. That let's put that amendment before us, please. And I'm taking over the job as the chair. I'm sorry.
That's okay. You're doing fine. Teach.
I'm so sorry. So let's move to Alderwoman Hubbard to present the amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, members of the committee. I would like to first, as a point of order, I guess, so we can make sure we're all clear and on the same page, that this was not Board Bill, the FQHC piece that we were just previously discussing was not on Board Bill 125. It's still on Board Bill 116. We have submitted a committee sub, and that's what we want to try to now get before the committee is Board Bill 116 committee sub.
Okay, that now is the time.
Okay.
Go right ahead.
Somebody make them. Do we need a motion for that to?
Yes, please.
You got your flu shot?
And someone make the motion for me, because I'm not on the committee.
I make the motion that we adopt the committee substitute for Board Bill 116.
Second.
It's been moved in second to adopt Board Bill 116. Amendment 1.
It's the committee substitute, Madam Chair.
Committee sub.
Committee sub, I'm sorry. Go right ahead.
Thank
You
you.
need to vote on it. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Hold on.
Oh, thank you. So yeah, the preamble is the same that was read though. And so in our efforts again to move this along with the people, then amount of people that are here and in support, thank you all for the speakers that have already spoken on behalf of the FQHCs, because that's exactly what we were planning on doing first after the full presentation, because we want to make sure they get back to the good work that they're doing and taking care of our communities, right? So with us already hearing that and with no other additional questions, I had heard from that piece. And again, with the work diligently had been done prior to this committee hearing on making sure if people had questions and information being set out. I think we can now just move to the full presentation from Mr. Jared Boyd, and then we'll open it up section by section. We do have representation from all 11 allocations in this board bill here for questions that might be had, so we can just move forward as quickly as possible. But again, for the FQHCs, I know we had already spoken about this. We have gotten your not only written testimonies. I appreciate all 4 of the CEOs that were here on the call and that have been in the meetings prior to this call to get this work done for you all. We stand in full support of. So if you all have to hop off, we understand. But after the full presentation from Mr. Boyd, we'll just move forward on the allocations and any questions that my colleagues may have. Thank you.
I have a question. So what was the amendment?
There was no amendment. We had Board Bill 116 committee sub that was presented, introduced yesterday within a 24-hour time and put into the drive. There was two major changes to the original bill. That's why it was a committee sub, but there are, for clarification, no amendments.
All right, it's back to you, Alderwoman Davis.
Continue with Alderwoman Hubbard.
Okay, Alderwoman Hubbard.
So is Alderwoman Boyd chairing or Alderwoman Davis?
I'm chairing, but she's schooling me.
Oh, okay. Okay, we're in school this morning. Okay. Okay, well, I had asked that Mr. Boyd now do the full presentation that he had on the entire Board Bill 116 committee sub, and then we can move in the direction of the different allocations per your direction, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Alderman. Mr. Boyd, are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Boyd.
Thank you again for allowing us to present what is the culmination of a long process in listening to St. Louisans, listening to the Board of Aldermen and our department heads in putting together a recommendation to help working families with ARPA funds. Today, we'll go through the recommendations for approximately $52 million in funding request. You've already heard about the investments that we are recommending in public health, which we are excited to recommend. It is worth noting that our FQHCs have been toiling in St. Louis in a state that has not been supportive of Medicaid expansion. So they have had to spend funds that have been unnecessary. And we are proud to say that they will also probably receive funding from previous ARPA appropriation to help get some of their clients on Medicaid. So the board has previously supported FQHCs, and we look forward to you all supporting them, continuing that support today. With respect to behavioral health, we've lived in a city far too long that has invested behavioral health in our jails, but not in a lot of other places. And given the opioid crisis, we are honored to have Dr. Mahdi, who has led our city towards making these vital investments in behavioral health and opioids, not just in the jail, but outside of the jail and in our communities. So today we're going to talk about, like I said, the $52 million appropriation, and I will provide an overview and then also look to different department heads to talk about the specific appropriations within their line items. So as I previously stated, this bill is the culmination of large amount of community engagement, and the first appropriation, in addition to the public health, deals with early childhood education investment. And is Noel Pfeffer here? This $2 million recommendation was a part of the committee sub, and if he is here, he can discuss it as well. But this $2 million would go to support childcare educators with salary supplements and access to educational advancement. St. Louis County provided, I think, over $5 million for a similar initiative. while we love supporting our early childhood education centers with capital investments, we have spoken with them, and time again, they point to workforce issues being their primary problem with their centers. Some of these places have rooms that are unfilled because they cannot find the staff or afford the staff, who are now sometimes making less than folks who work at fast food restaurants and Target. And there's certainly dignity in working at a fast food restaurant or Target, but the workforce issue has really hit our early childhood education centers very hard, and spills over into almost every job, and primarily a lot of jobs impacting women, because they're often the ones that suffer when our early childhood systems break down. So that is a brief overview of that $2 million early childhood investment. As I stated, St. Louis County made a similar investment, and we received feedback or request from older people who saw that investment and rightfully contacted us to see if we could do something similar to St. Louis County. So I will
So you want Mr. Noel, you want him to speak?
If he needs to provide any more details with the program, that would be appropriate.
Okay.
All I'll add is that we've already worked to deploy the $2 million appropriated for early childhood education in Ordinance 71393. We've deployed $750,000 of those dollars thus far in operating support grants to over 20 early childcare providers in partnership with the Mental Health Board, and anticipate deploying the remainder of the funds by the end of the year. We're excited to get to work on this appropriation as well. As Jared mentioned, early childhood education is such a key investment, both in terms of improved high school graduation rates, increased employment and wages, reduced crime, better health outcomes, and also an economic imperative because we're facing a labor shortage, and part of that is lack of access to childcare. But excited to get to work with partners to deploy these funds and expand the workforce development pipeline for early childcare, provide more competitive compensation to childcare workers, and also ensure that childcare workers have professional development opportunities to get their CDA licenses, their child development associate credentials, which require 9 to 12 credit hours and 480 hours of work experience. And so providing that support for professional development to expand the pipeline.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions? Were you finished, Mr. Boyd? I'm sorry.
Sure. And I can either move on to the next department or entertain questions after presenting another department. That is up to the discretion of the committee chair.
Does anybody else on the committee have any questions in regards to the early childhood? Okay, you can go to the next one, Mr. Boyd.
Thank you. The next allocation is for Department of Human Services, and that is for approximately $15 million. So continued assistance with rental program coordination. We are trying that $250,000 would be tasked with coordinating with various or entities that have access to rental assistance, and the United Way is a key component of that. Extension of contracts for senior services for $1 million, and then approximately almost $14 million for housing stabilization funds. And if someone from DHS is here, I will turn it over to them. Don't see them though.
I thought I saw Dr. Scoggins earlier.
Yes, he might have had to hop off. Let me give him a call.
But as we're waiting for him, I'll give a little bit more detail to the housing stabilization. So approximately $5 million of that would be going towards supporting renters to make sure that we have rapid rehousing dollars. The easiest way to prevent homelessness is to prevent someone from being evicted. So, or making sure that once, even if something does happen, that we can rapidly rehouse those persons. So that would help with 350 people through bridge housing contracts, so that those people would not go directly to the street if they do lose housing. About 500,000 would go towards funding support for outreach. There are shelters that or facilities that we fund directly, but there are also shelters that we provide shower and sanitation systems to, cleaning supplies and other critical needs too. So about $500,000 for those. And then emergency and transitional housing, and that would be an extension of contracts for about $8 million for providers.
Okay. Any questions? We're gonna take you on down the line, Mr. Boyd.
Okay. All right. The next appropriation is for guaranteed basic income, $5 million. And that would rest with the treasurer's office. And guaranteed basic income programs have been launched in several other cities, over 30 cities, including Atlanta, Chicago, St. Paul, Birmingham. And they recognize that providing a salary floor for citizens not only provides dignity, but a sense of stability. The premise of these programs, like I said, recognizes that by providing some stability, that folks can have a sense of dignity and have an opportunity to kind of get their affairs in order. It is a lot easier to focus on either making your child's doctor's appointment or applying for a job when you don't have to think about the immediate needs of where your next meal is coming from, or how are you going to prevent a utility from being cut off, or how can you get to a job if your car is not working. The trend among many cities is that GBI programs are tailored at specific groups. So Birmingham's guaranteed basic income program is tailored towards newborn mothers with newborn children. There are a number of guaranteed basic income programs that are targeted at folks who were recently incarcerated. There are artists that have been targeted in these programs. And in St. Louis, we are proposing to target families with children in St. Louis public schools. So that's SLPS schools or charter schools, for a few very important reasons. The first being that our public schools in the city have seen a dramatic decline in enrollment, and a large portion of our SLPS families are housing unstable, whether that means they're homeless or that they are couch surfing. The stress of housing instability certainly bleeds into our school buildings. So targeting school families is something that I think is incredibly important, given the high number of housing unstable families. We also know that the schools are spending lots of resources and with taxi and other social services just to stabilize these families. So that is kind of what our thoughts are on the target audience. I think another reason that we are looking at school families is that the federal government had a child income tax credit program during COVID, which proved that providing direct resources to families can dramatically reduce child poverty, which I think is an important goal to try and reach. So just to kind of address some of the questions that we have received with guaranteed basic income, because while it's not new to St. Louis, while it is somewhat new to St. Louis, it's been done across the country. And I think it invokes certain moral questions as to why would we give people money when a lot of your constituents are juggling jobs and working hard every day. And what we have seen, or what the research has shown, is that by providing people with a steady amount of cash, that you actually increase their rates of employment. So in Stockton, California, they saw a 42% increase in employment for those who were on the basic income program, as opposed to those in a control group that did not receive the program. And that makes a lot of sense, like I said, because if you're able to overcome a small car transportation problem, if you're able to not have to think about where your next meal is coming from, if you're able to address those immediate needs, you have the bandwidth to think about applying for a job and think about your future. So, like I said, participants in other cities have seen an increase in employment. They've also seen a decrease in stress. Another question that we've received is that, will these participants simply waste the money on things that are not needed? We have data both from our direct cash assistance program that went to 9,300 families, and data from other guaranteed or guaranteed basic income programs that show that recipients are using these funds overwhelmingly on things like groceries, utilities, gas, very basic needs. So with direct cash assistance, like I said, we worked with a financial entity that tracked every single dollar that was spent by our families, and the top categories were groceries, utilities, and gas. So with that, I will, I guess, just mention again that the program design is intended for families with children in St. Louis Public District or charter schools. So with that, that is kind of an overview on our proposed guaranteed basic income program.
Okay, does anybody have any questions?
I have a question.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
So, and if I heard you correctly, $1 million have been allocated for senior citizens or senior services?
So the appropriation recommends $1 million for senior services. That's separate from the guaranteed basic income program. Those funds would simply go towards contract extensions for senior services. So continuation of senior services that were unfortunately not met with general funds or other funds.
Thank you. I was just concerned because senior citizens are near and dear to my heart, and they need so much assistance. And, you know, when I heard $1 million, I was like, that can't be right. You know, is there a way that more could be allocated for assistance to our seniors?
Alderwoman Keys, thank you for that question. I think this represents one investment in senior services, and we hope to make additional investments through the annual budget process or in other places. So this is hopefully not the last investment in senior services, but one investment in senior services.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Alderwoman Keys?
No, that was my only question. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Todd.
I don't have a question. I would just like to make a statement that this program saved lives. From my experience being homeless as a teenager, I know how difficult it is to get a job and to keep healthy when you don't have a home, because you couldn't, back when I was homeless, you couldn't even get food stamps because you had to have a place to cook the food. And then you had to deal with keeping yourself clean and everything else. But the good thing about this, many of us, Dr. King started this guaranteed annual income program. And it's certainly a step in the right direction, because it's not that people are lazier. We've gone from automation, we've gone through several automation transition from the cotton picker in the South, where I was born as a kid, to other automation and robots and stuff that are taking jobs of people. So it's not like people have gotten lazier. It's just that many machines have taken over, including, as some of us go, like I go sometimes shopping at the big hardware stores and big other stores, and they have cashiers are being replaced. That's just one example. So the point I'm making is this, to me, I rise in support of this program because it's going to save some lives. And I think when we talk about whether it's gun violence or whether people dying because of lack of medical care, which 100 people die every day because of lack of, that's what I heard from several sources, lack of universal health care. So it doesn't matter whether it's opioid or dying, even from neglect of medical care. It's like a car. If I don't take care of my car and keep it in good, running in good shape, then it's going to need more repair than if I took care of it. So I rather than supported this program because of the lives it would save, the tax dollars that it would save, and the citizens that it would save, and also it's dealing with the poorest of the poor, and the taxes it would bring to our city and to make us safer. This is one way to make us safer, is to have people working, because in most times people, if they at work, they won't be out here shooting and killing each other. So that's one of the other tools we're gonna have to use. And so I'm not saying everybody's gonna go to work, but those that are willing to work and have the means to get to work. Because when I first started working at Belle Reve Country Club, which is one of the richest clubs in America, right out there in Ladue, I had to pay back then $3 a day to get there, a week to get to work. I didn't have transportation. Without that transportation and have people that I could work with, I wouldn't have been able to get a job. So I'm saying I've had that experience. So I'm glad for this program. I rise in support of it. And I think our priority must be to continue to emphasize the poor. I know everybody needs some money and everybody wants some money, but we must take care of the least of these first. And then people like myself don't need taken care of. I'm not speaking for anybody else. I'm not rich, but I'm gonna have to stand in the back of the line because I already got something. I want those who don't have anything to come before me. Thank you, Madam Chair, and I yield back.
Thank you, Alderman Todd. Alderwoman Davis.
Thank you. I wanted to ask a question about some details on the program. I think it's important for our citizens to have clarity. One is the estimated number of people that we'll be able to serve. The second question is the length of time that we will be able to serve them. And my last question is, where do we go after these funds are gone? We know that we don't have it in our general revenue. So those are my questions.
Thank you,
Madam Chair.
Alderman Davis. Mr. Boyd?
Sure. We have a conservative estimate of serving 440 families for 18 months. The program does have, it is a high touch program, and there will be benefits navigators for folks. So helping people along the way and having administrative costs for that. We are, in full disclosure, calling this a pilot because we have not, it would be inappropriate to make any commitment to these type of funds without understanding their impact. We have some preliminary data on direct cash assistance, and we have some research partners who have worked with us in that respect. But to be very clear to the committee and the public, this is a pilot, and we would not recommend any subsequent funding for this program without demonstrated community impact for the participants in this program, or sustained funding to make sure that these funds would be used. This is many cities are using ARPA funds for guaranteed basic income because it is a response to the economic crisis of COVID, and the justification for the program deals with that response. Like I said, we get further away from that, the merits of the program will have to speak for themselves. Like I said, this is a high touch program, both from a benefits navigation standpoint and a research standpoint, and it is a pilot. So that is kind of where we think about this, even though, like I said, there's research abounding on this that it is positive. We want to see how this works in St. Louis.
Thank you so very much for the clarity. I yield back.
Thanks, Alderwoman Davis. Alderman Gunther.
Thank you, Alderwoman Boyd. So I've actually done quite a bit of research on this since it has come up, and I will put out there that there's a website. It's Mayors for Guaranteed Income, and on this, the Mayors for Guaranteed Income page, it talks about the last year, about how there's a total of 82 mayors across the U.S. in 29 different states that are enacting some sort of pilot currently. And there's a lot of information in there talking about what the different pilot programs. I think they have 28 pilot programs that they have listed on here that talk about anywhere from Louisville, Kentucky, doing $500 a month for 12 months to going out to 150 individuals. Atlanta, Georgia, doing a 12-month pilot for 300 individuals. So I think our parameters are kind of in line with a lot of other of these pilot programs. But my question for Mr. Boyd is that basically on one of the pages, it talks about the research and evaluation of this program. And it says that the Mayors for Guaranteed Income partner with the University of Pennsylvania School of Social Policy to establish a Center for Guaranteed Income Research to be able to come up with basically metrics. And so my question to you is I know this is going to the Treasurer's office, but will we be able to, after these 18 months, do you have a plan for reporting back to us about what sort of metrics were met, and basically letting us know how the program works? Like what plans are there for research is my question.
Thank you for that question, Alderman Gunther. We certainly realize that while there are a lot of smart people in city government, we don't have the capacity to do that evaluation internally, and we'll have an external partner help us with that evaluation. We already have an external partner that has been helping us design the program and deal and have provided us kind of with the best practices from across the country. But we know that we're going to have to come back before, and we want to really understand how this program has the potential to move the needle. So yes, we will. The answer is yes. We will be working with an outside evaluator on this program, and we'll certainly report back on those findings.
Wonderful. And yeah, and just again, for all my colleagues that have concerns about it, I definitely learned a whole lot from looking at Mayors for Guaranteed Income. There's a lot of research on there. There's a lot of data, a lot of frequently asked questions that are answered in there. And it's, something that from Dr. King, all the way to Bernie Sanders have been pushing for cities to try this out, and hopefully it turns into some sort of federal policy. So thank you very much. That's all I have.
Thank you, Alderman Gunther. Alderwoman Evans.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am interested, I'm learning, and I just wanted some more information on the Department of the Board of Public Service, and it deals with the micro transit. I'm not sure what that is. Is there?
Alderman Evans, can we, when he presents that, can we go back to that? Because he's on the working families. He's on another part. We discussing another part.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah, so when he goes to that, we can discuss that. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Okay, Mr. Boyd, I do have some questions. My question is, how different is this from the first round? Because we're still waiting on that information from the Treasurer's Office on who actually received those dollars, and how different is this program from that one?
Sure. So the Direct Cash Assistance Program, previously implemented by the Treasurer's Office and Department of Human Services, provided one-time $500 payments to folks who suffered some, whether it be job loss, health loss, or loss of loved one, loss from COVID. So one-time $500 payments to about a little more than 9,000 residents. I believe Kevin Bailey, our liaison, has provided information on the zip codes where those disbursements went. I will say the vast majority, I think about 70%, went to folks who were between 0 and 30% AMI. So folks who are really in need. We have some preliminary data on that, and have worked with an external evaluator, and look forward to providing a more robust debriefing on the program. But our preliminary data shows that it went to, like I said, vast majority of people were between 0 and 30% AMI. Previously provided, I guess, a breakdown of the zip codes where it was dispersed. I believe the number of folks who got it, like I said, 9,300, 80% African American, 72% women, and the number one categories, because we were able to track each dollar, were for utilities, groceries, transportation, food, cable, rental assistance. There were also funds that were simply converted to cash because it was an ATM card. But like I said, look forward to providing that research. But I think previously have been provided kind of the disbursements of where the funds were on a zip code basis. And I think the Treasurer's Office is working on getting that converted to ward level data. We received also kind of qualitative feedback as to kind of how this money impacted folks who were recipients, whether it be helping people pay an immediate bill so that they could then worry about applying for a job, or just meeting an immediate stressful need, and how the folks who received it expressed an interest or belief that the city should do this on a long-term basis. So look forward to providing that report from our external partner and evaluator to provide a full picture on the impact of the Direct Cash Assistance Program. But as stated before, it was a one-time $500 payment. This proposed GBI program would be for a smaller pool of people for 18 months.
And so the other question, because I heard you say SLPS, so have you all had a conversation with the board of SLPS in regards to this?
So the proposed program is aimed at St. Louis Public School families. So that would be St. Louis Public School District and charter families. We have had preliminary conversations with the SLPS administration. I hope that they have had conversations with their board, but we are cognizant that during direct cash assistance, our schools were some of the best partners, incredible partners and messengers for our families. So we have been in preliminary conversations with SLPS administration. We have not had subsequent meetings with the board, and we'll defer to the SLPS administration as to when and how to involve them in these discussions.
Okay, and so I guess my issue, because it sounds like I'm hearing contradiction, because earlier you were talking in regards to the rental assistance, the utility assistance. You were putting money in there to increase that to help families. And then in this proposal with the $500 for 18 months, then you were coming back saying they could do energy assistance, rental assistance. So it's kind of contradictory to me, because we have so many services out here to help people with rental assistance, and me being a owner of a rental property, my renters did utilize our rental assistance program, and so it did help them. So that's why I'm kind of confused with this $500 a month to say, well, we're going to help you with your rental assistance, but we already have programs in place. We have state and city programs that will help people with rental. Then we have the utility assistance through Heat Up St. Louis. So I'm just kind of confused on these dollars. Maybe that's not what those dollars will be used for. I don't know. Then we say, well, they can get food. Well, we got Urban League has the drive-through food. We have churches that's giving food away. They're literally begging people to get food to feed their families. So I'm just trying to get clarity to make sure I understand how we are targeting these people in regards to this $500 for 18 months.
Sure. So part of guaranteed basic income programs is, I think one of the premises is recognizing that while there are other resources, specific resources, that giving families the opportunity to spend the funds in the way that they immediately need them is pretty effective. And there may be places where some of these families are not eligible or don't have, can't get that service right when it's needed. And by putting the money in their hands, you're helping to kind of stabilize them and allow them to deal with those emergencies. Second thing I would say is this is a high touch program. What I mean by a high touch program, families are going to have to work with benefits navigators to make sure that their benefits are not adversely impacted. And I think there's an opportunity because it is a high impact program, because we are going to be working with credible partners like SLPS to build that relationship with some of these families, to let them know about other resources that are available. What we found with DCA is kind of what a lot of people know, and that sometimes the people who need things the most are the hardest to find. And you have to build, you have to work with them to get them the help that sometimes they're just kind of in such a desperate place that they don't know is there. So with direct cash assistance, we intentionally slowed down the program because we recognized there were people who were really in need, who did not have access to a computer to apply for the funds. So all of that is to say, like I said, providing people with a form of stability I think allows them the opportunity to get out of emergency survival mode and begin to find other resource opportunities that are there for them, whether that be with Urban League or Heat Up St. Louis or with safer and rental assistance.
Okay, thank you. And my last question is, I'm like Alderwoman Keys, because my heart is with my seniors. And so I just feel that we need to make sure that our seniors are stabilized and they have what they need to stay in their homes, because with my ward being 85% senior population, they don't want to go into a nursing home. They want to be able to stay in their own homes until they leave this world. And so I just think that we need to make sure that instead of sprinkling things on there for services, we need to really dig in and address those issues, you know, in regards to our seniors that's out in our communities, because they're our grassroots people, they're our base. And I don't want to lose them either. So that's all I have. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay. Next, Mr. Boyd.
Thank you. I believe the next category of funding deals with public service and microtransit, which Alderwoman Evans alluded to, for $1 million for the continuation of microtransit that currently serves downtown and just north of downtown. And we have Scott Ogilvie, who is here with us today to give more information on the microtransit program.
Thank you, Mr. Boyd. Morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. As Mr. Boyd said, this would be a continuation of an existing microtransit pilot that we have been running since March, from a funding allocation from an earlier ARPA bill in 2021. The service has been provided for free. Service area is a portion of downtown, Carr Square, Columbus Square, and then portions of St. Louis Place and Old North St. Louis neighborhoods. To date, since late March, over 10,000 rides have been provided by the service. It operates for a portion of the day, Monday through Friday. And we feel it's been fairly effective at sort of filling a niche for relatively short trips between people's homes and their work within the service area, or people's homes and other services within the service area, or for visitors who are visiting the area. This allocation would allow the program to be extended in time, and also for the service area to be expanded somewhat. So we would anticipate something like two additional years of service with a little bit larger service area with this allocation. I'm happy to answer any questions if there are some.
Madam Chairwoman.
Here I am. I'm sorry. Oh my God, multitasking, Lord. Okay, does anyone have any questions for Mr. Ogilvie? Thank you, Mr. Ogilvie. Any Alderwoman Evans, did you have any questions? Because she had put her hand up. Alderman Shane Cone.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Alderman Ogilvie, Scott, would you mind, sorry, slip of the tongue, what microtransit is for those that might not be aware?
You broke up a little bit, but did you say, can I explain what microtransit is?
Yes.
Sure. So the term microtransit means that we're working within a relatively limited service area, and the form of the vehicle is small. So these are electric vehicle shuttles. There's 6 passengers. So they're not a traditional bus or a larger shuttle that you would have with like a call a ride service. And that allows the service to be a little more personal. So a lot of these rides have actually been from street hails, from the drivers engaging residents on the street. And then they're electric vehicles, so there's no tailpipe emissions. And the operational cost of the vehicles is relatively low. I guess the only other thing I might touch on is this is a Board of Public Service line item. Our office, Planning and Urban Design, has been managing the program cooperatively with the Board of Public Service so far.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions,
I
Alderman
don't have
Shane?
other questions.
You breaking up. Did you say yes or no?
No, I don't have any other questions. Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you. Did anybody else have any questions? Okay, Mr. Boyd, next.
Thank you. We also have a $6 million proposed investment for funding support for juvenile and youth diversion programs. I will say dealing with youth violence is probably one of the hardest aspects of working in the mayor's office. We have seen a spike in juvenile incidents, in some part because of a spike in auto theft. Unfortunately, with Kia and Hyundai cars being so easy to steal, in many places we're seeing the median age of some of these car theft folks being around 15. So that causes a whole host of problems because auto thefts are somewhat of a gateway crime. If you combine that with the fact that we're undergoing changes in our juvenile and adult justice system so that we are not prosecuting 17-year-olds as adults anymore. So we have a serious need for intensive funding around juvenile and youth diversion programs to do intensive targeting for these youth who are on the precipice of being involved in the adult criminal justice system, or even worse. So there was a recent news story about two 14-year-olds, I think this weekend, who were murdered, and one of the mothers mentioned that her son was great, but had fallen in with the wrong crowd, and that she wishes the city would have more productive places for these youth to go. So the proposed funding will go towards a diversion center and intensive wraparound services for these juveniles before it is too late. It would be under the Office of Violence Prevention, which launched earlier this summer, and is currently funding 8 programs across, or 8 nonprofits across the city that have just started doing work. And I'm happy to provide a list of those organizations to the committee that you all so kindly appropriated previously as well. There's $125,000 for updating the sustainability plan, which I don't think has been done in, 10 years or so. And then $4 million for year-round youth jobs. And our capable Director Slate is here as well. If anyone has additional questions about the need for those funds or how those funds are going to be used.
Okay, I see we have hands up. Alderman Shane, Alderman Collin, do you still have your hand up?
I put it back up, Madam Chair, yes.
Okay, I'm gonna let Alderwoman Davis, because she hadn't spoken, then we'll come back to you. Is that okay?
That's fine, thank you.
Okay. All right, Alderwoman Davis.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I wanted to give comment to most especially to support the additional concern and care and support for senior citizens. We have so many in our city And based on the census data that is being taken on a quarterly basis, we do know that we have more deaths in our city than births, which means that people are, number one, living longer, in a sense, living longer, but there are also those who are living longer. Our seniors need to have more support. So I wanted to cover that very quickly. But my main concern, based on what was just shared with us, our youth intervention and prevention has to be accelerated to a level that we had in the past, maybe 10, 15 years ago. We have to get back to that. When I asked a question about neighborhood accountability boards, I think I got some information. Well, we have 7. We have 79 neighborhoods, which means that at the minimum, we should have 50 neighborhood accountability boards so that we can get these young people engaged, have a support system for them and their families so they don't actually get too far into the crime area. And also no need for them to be in a juvenile detention center if we can turn them around. That doesn't cost us a lot of money. It's very little money. St. Louis County's program is extremely proactive. One of my businessmen here in the 19th Ward sits on one of the accountability boards, and he has gotten so engaged that he's asked other businesses that are in the same field he's in to create a work training program for the young participants to get into and or their family members. So we do know that we have the ability to do more and we can do better. And so I appreciate that there is some attention, but I really ask for that to take place. And my last comment very quickly is, if we do nothing else with our transit programs as we move forward, and I say this because in all my neighborhood meetings this week, they had talked about pedestrian safety. They had talked about the criminal element of abusive drivers who don't stop at stop signs, lights, speed, all of the above. But in our transit process, that when we're looking at those safety measures, that we also know and understand that people need to be more mobile. And we don't necessarily need to wait another 10 or 15 years to have a Metrolink, because we have very, very nice electric buses that we could have good bus routes, and we could have those things in 2 to 3 years. Thank you. I'll yield back.
Thank you, Alderwoman Davis. Alderman Cone.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just kind of want to piggyback off of what my colleague from the 19th was just saying. I'm very excited about a lot of these programs. It's good to hear that we're, trying to center our seniors and also our youth, and particularly for me, seniors have my heart, youth has my passion. I represent a neighborhood that, almost a third of the population is underneath the age of 18. We've got a ton of families that live in my community, and most are, really great kids and, doing their best to, progress through life here, but some do end up in trouble situations, and a lot of that is sometimes outside of their control. I bring resources to neighborhoods and to our youth should be centered as part of our process and policies and funding. I guess, having a diversion center, it sounds good. I feel like we already have something kind of similar. I know it's not exact, but, Blewett Academy has multiple nonprofits that are working with it or did when it initially started. It was a kind of diversion program that was set up by the juvenile courts, with Judge Edwards. And I struggle, one, to think that our young people are going to leave their communities, leave their neighborhoods to go to some diversion center on their own accord, versus putting in programs in place that are more proactive and engaging those young people where they are, and their neighborhoods and their homes. Our police department has the ability to provide data, to provide information about young people who have had interactions with our police department. And we can have programs in place to support wraparound services specifically for those young people, to make sure that they're going to school, that they're getting, fed, that they have safe home environments. If they don't, what services can we offer them? And having that in a centralized program office that's services to our young people who are in these situations is critical. And I've been speaking about this for a very long time. We did something very similar to that in the Dutchtown Mount Pleasant neighborhood, probably about 10 years ago or so. And it was very successful. We funded it through the Justice Assistance Grant Program through the Department of Public Safety at the time. And, we had roughly 150 young people in the Dutchtown Mount Pleasant neighborhood that had a program officer that was assigned to them, who would basically make sure that they were in good hands throughout the day and that they had access to resources, whether that was supplies for school or food, or we had, one youth who kept getting into altercations. And when, it was kind of discovered through conversation that people were making fun of him because of his smile, they were able to get him access to, a dental program to help him. And he ended up, completing his GED and, tried to get on a more productive path there. So I'm a little concerned that we're not trying to bring more resources directly into neighborhoods and to our youth. And I'm hoping, maybe Jared, can you just explain a little bit more detail about the diversion center, where it will be, what it's going to be doing, who are the nonprofits involved, and how they're going to engage with young people to ensure that they're that they have access. We have rec centers, throughout the city as well that are completely underutilized, and could be invested in with both programs and infrastructure money, and possibly diversion programs as well. Can you maybe explain just a little bit more about the diversion center aspect of this and what that entails?
Sure. I don't want to make it seem as if it is a standalone facility that we expect people to just come and avail themselves of. It is the proposed programs it is a program where youth are identified that are in high risk, and that you provide intensive wraparound services to those youth and to those families as an alternative to them being in correctional, residential, or care facilities. So the services are brought to the family, and we're talking as intensive as 10 hours a week of services that are to the family. So I think that envisions going directly into homes and working in community as opposed to waiting for people to come to the facility. I just emailed you the information that I have on the pilot that's based upon a proposal that we have been vetting, but it is not, like I said, the model it's not like a facility where people have to find out about. We have to go out and find these youth and then provide them with the services and have this alternative space for them as well.
So how are youth being identified for these resources? Is that through the courts? Is it through the police department? Is it through the public schools? How are they made aware of the program? How are they engaged? What's the process there?
Sure. So the proposal does say we have to work with our stakeholders, credible places, to identify these very high-risk youth. So that can be schools, that can be juvenile justice system, all of neighborhood organizations. But yes, at the very kind of second paragraph, it says we have to go out and find these youth with community.
Okay. I think if you were to just show up at a neighborhood meeting, it's not going to be a productive conversation there in terms of identifying at-risk youth. I think, we've got a ton of data, as a city that is, frankly, not in the best of shape, but could be better utilized for programs such as this. But thank you for kind of assuaging some of my concerns there, though, with respect to bringing resources directly to the young people versus expecting them to go to a centralized location somewhere. And I haven't been able to check my email yet, but I'll take a look at that when I have an opportunity. Thanks, Jared.
Anything else, Alderman Cone?
I'm sorry, what was that, Madam Chair?
Did you have anything else? Were you finished?
No, nothing else. Thank you.
All right. Alderwoman Davis, and then Alderwoman Keys.
I'm sorry to continue to harp on this, but it's a critical issue. Having someone sharing information and also getting information and support when you know that you have done something wrong, whether you admit it or not, is a very private thing. So engaging people at a neighborhood meeting is not going to work. What is normally done is you set up the Neighborhood Accountability Board in partnership either with the nonprofit in the area and or a block unit in the area. These are people who intimately know their community and the people who will be coming before them. It also allows a person to have some dignity in the process as they're moving forward. And it also allows for those folks who have immediate support to bring it forward rather than waiting for our governmental bureaucratic system to do what it does. To give you a very clear example, one of the big things when we were turning Jeff Vanderloo around with that neighborhood accountability boards, and I say plural, was the sagging was just really hot during that time. But we were able to provide belts to everybody that came, and it was mandatory. They wore those belts. And they knew that if we saw them walking down the street with their pants sagging, and we had provided them with very nice belts, and they didn't have them on, now we got issues. And those young people want guidance. They want to be held accountable. They've never had it usually. And that intimate involvement is critical. So I hope that we do have the opportunity to structure this properly. I hope that we have the opportunity to find those entities that have conducted that process to work in partnership with us, because I'm gonna tell you, the numbers are multiplying, and it is critical based on our crime data and who is committing the crimes that we not get a handle on our youth. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman Davis. Is that all? Okay. Alderwoman Keys.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just listening to Jared's description, and this program sounds very much like a program that has been in place for decades with the Division of Youth Services. For 9 years, I worked part-time as an intensive case monitor tracker for juvenile offenders. So they were referred to us via the courts and or school or other programs where, there was a youth who may have needed some additional attention, and the family needing wraparound services that we were able to provide. So I'm hearing a program that's supposed to be new, but there really is something that is already comparable in place. I don't know if the state is still using it at the same level it was used at. I started working with them in, I think, 1996. And I was with them for 9 years. So, and it was a very effective program and with some very good outcomes. So I would urge you to take a look at a program such as that, because it provided one-on-one services to that youth and to their family. Because oftentimes the problem is not just the youth itself, it is because some wraparound services are needed within that home.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Thank you. That was all, Alderwoman Keys.
It is. Thank you.
I have, the only thing that I have, Jared, I'm asking is, in our communities, as Alderman Cone said, each community is different and each is unique within itself. 9 times out of 10, a lot of communities have what already with Alderwoman Davis and Alderwoman Keys and Alderman Cone is saying, they already have this set up in these communities. And so the biggest thing that I keep hearing, and I don't think people understand, is trust. And in our communities, if those youth don't trust you, you can have meetings for days. It's not gonna make a difference. And so you have to meet them where they are. I see what you all are saying, as Alderwoman Keys say, this isn't new. Ironically, in our communities, we've been doing these kind of programs forever. Our challenge was always the dollars to keep those programs afloat. So from the Dropout Teen Center that was in the Walnut Park East neighborhood, to Alderwoman Davis saying the community organization groups that were coming together. In our ward, we have community groups that are working with people and those youth. These are already in place. And so that's where the issue is. They had programs out of the public schools. They ran at 12, 1 o'clock at night. They did the stats before the program started, and then they did the crime stats after, and the crime plummet. Over in the Wallbridge area, people called it Murderville. And in the 90s, we were going to funerals 2 and 3 times a week. Within 6 months, they turned that community around. And so I think what you all are saying is good. It's just that I always understand those youth have trust issues. They have trust issues with government. They have trust issues with legislators. And so you have to build a relationship with them before they'll even begin to open up to you. And so bringing all these new people in, it's no offense to the new people, but those youth don't know them. And as Alderman Cone said, you have to meet them where they are. So you can't expect them to go across town to another program. It's just like when they put the Oak Island Rec Center there, I kept saying over and over again, my youth are not going over there because that's crossing over, it's territorial. And so just like our youth are territorial, it's funny, but it's true, my seniors are territorial. So they're like gang members, just like the youth. They want to stay in their community and deal with their issues. So I'm just telling you, I mean, it's good and we got this money and we want to do pilots, but always remember, trust is the biggest issue. And Alderman Davis, they couldn't have got those youth to pull their pants up if they didn't trust them. So just remember that trust is an issue in our communities. So does anybody else have anything? Okay, you got another one, Mr. Boyd? You're on mute, Jared.
Last but not least, we have funds for ARPA implementation. as you know, many of our departments are already short-staffed. So ensuring that these funds are spent expeditiously and legally is going to require some more help in communicating these. You can have the greatest programs in the world. If people don't know about them, then they're all for naught. So we have included some additional funds for administration and oversight of ARPA. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know if there were any questions about the youth jobs or if that needed any additional explanation from our slate director.
Well, I can't speak for her because I can say she's a bubble of energy and she really tries to reach out to as many young people as possible. So Ms. McGlowan, I applaud you. I've never met you in person. I have talked to you. So I do see the change that you are doing with Slate and making it in a positive to reach more youth. So that's a good thing. Does anybody have any questions for her in regards to her programs or dollars? Okay, I think Mr. Boyd, she's pretty safe. Everybody's happy with her.
With that, that concludes all of the recommendations or proposed recommendations for the Working Families Board Bill that we've presented.
Okay, the only thing I'm asking again with the Working Families piece, because I would really feel more comfortable to get more information from the Treasurer's Department because we did not get the information that was asked. So that's my concern on that piece. We just didn't get the information from the previous allocations. Okay. Does anybody else have anything? I will turn it back to Alderwoman Davis to close. I mean, Alderwoman Hubbard, correct? Alderwoman Hubbard to close.
Okay, thank you so much. You know, there has been some confusion this morning, and I know that there were a lot of people that were signed on to speak on behalf of Board Bill 116 Committee Sub. At one time I looked, there was over 140 something people on this call. And people did have to fall off, and this is a big bill, right? And it is gonna make a lot of change, brings a lot of hope. No money, no mission, and this absolutely brings the money to the mission of bringing this hope and these resources and allocations to the people, to our working families here in the city of St. Louis. So I want to personally thank everybody that signed on, took the time out to speak today. And you may still have a chance to speak, but under the direction of the chairperson, the chairwoman, we are going to go ahead. It seems like we're going to go ahead and close and take the vote on this bill. I'm just really passionate about the purpose and
Point of order.
About this.
Madam,
point of order.
Thank you. If you have public speakers,
great. Okay.
It is important that we do allow as many as we can.
Yes, thank you.
I'm not sure where you are. As you remember, when I opened up the meeting, I said we were going to try to get to them, but we have to stick to the 3 minutes. It is imperative. And there will be no debate by committee members. Okay. We do not debate the public. We listen to the public.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely.
Right.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to hear that. So with that, I don't know if Madam Clerk, you have the list of speakers signed on.
And they have to be sworn in, correct?
Yes, please.
Yes, I do have a list of speakers. Let's see, 116. I already have, because, okay, so I have guest speakers is Bill Monroe, Aduli Jolly, all of those have already spoken. Am I correct?
No.
Ms. Monroe has spoken.
Okay. Then I have Bill Monroe, Grace Young.
She would have been with the mayor's office, so that would have fell under Mr. Boyd.
Okay. Joe Periel. Pearl.
May I, Joe Perlin, he's already left and was part of the FQHC. Thank you.
Okay, Joel Crespo.
Already spoken for,
Andrea Bibbs.
already spoken for.
Okay. And Dr. Teepee.
She already presented.
Then I have the CEOs from various health agencies, Dwayne Butler.
And they've all been represented with the earlier statement.
Okay, well then I have just members of the public.
Right.
Okay. Right. And what's the process on that after? Do they just raise their hand or?
Right, they raise their hand and then they swear to tell the truth, the whole truth. They swear or abstain, correct?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, but I meant there's the process on them being able to speak. Since we don't have them by name, they won't be called upon by name. Do we just say, they're just, okay.
If they're not signed up, we're not doing that.
Right.
You really got to follow rules.
Yeah, if they have to be signed up on the list and the clerk called who was on the list. Am I correct, clerk?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's the only ones that can speak. If you weren't signed up, you can't speak.
So the members of the, you said it said members of the public, Tracy, but no names.
I have names.
Okay.
You only have one, which is Bill Monroe.
Right, that is the only person I have that's been signed up to speak.
And that's who will be speaking.
Okay.
All right. So Mr. Monroe, would you raise your hand, please? Because I don't see. Oh, okay. You raised both hands. Thank you, Mr. Monroe. Okay. Do you solemnly swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, affirm or abstain?
I promise to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help me God.
Thank you, Mr.
My ancestors too that's watching me.
Okay, thank you. All right, you're on. You have 3 minutes.
Wow. Thank you. And I'm trying to get my hand down. I guess I did. I'm Brother Bill Monroe. And for more than 2 decades, I've been in pursuit of doing just what we're talking about and getting a handle on our youth. And I have proposed saving 3 St. Louis public schools that are closed, that are vacant, that are vandalized. And that's the Beaumont building. And for those of us, there's been quite a lot of conversation about our homeless youth and our boys and girls. And the other 2 schools to save would be Banneker, where we have designed a program for our homeless girls, for our females at Banneker. And at Banneker will also be a daycare center on the 1st floor. The other facility will be for our boys. And that's what this communication has been about this morning, about our young Black boys in the streets and the chaos and the carnage and the lives being lost. And we have proposed to add Stowe Elementary right there at Goodfellow and Lotus. These are North St. Louis, and this will be by design a dorm for our Black boys at Stowe Elementary. Also to be inclusive of an electric training program at that site where we can charge the electric vehicles and instruct our youth as to what's the new phase is in automotive technology. But we have asked for $16.5 million ARPA funds to save 3 schools. And for those of you that have seen the maps, the majority of the vacant crumbling building is in North St. Louis. And on one occasion, I was taking some photographs of Beaumont, and I came upon some brothers dismantling the fence on the Ewing side. They were still in the fence from Beaumont. And I called security and the police. So it was being vandalized right there at 8 o'clock in the morning. But what we have by design is for Beaumont, I'm excited now. My heart is racing, so I'm at to calm down. I had too much coffee sitting up here. But by design with the Beaumont campus, the Harriet Tubman Preparatory High School and Career Center focus in on our youth and saving the lives of our youth. And at that facility, we will have all the necessary required skills and job training at that site for our young people, to include a public safety academy. And I have garnered the attention of the firefighters and the police union, and where we will facilitate a public safety academy right there at that campus. And we will train and teach firemen, police, and paramedics as a part of that program also. Not to mention, not to forget a collaboration with South County Tech and all the skills that they can bring to North St. Louis that will save the lives of our young people. Ironically enough, I wept this morning, and I consider myself a tough guy, but I wept this morning when I saw the number of young people that are dying in our streets. And the key is not more policemen, not more jails. The key is education, skills, and job training. And we have the resources within our community to make that happen. And God has blessed this community with ARPA funds. Never have I realized how critical it is that we take and put our arms around our children. And when those children come to the Beaumont building, they're going to be taken to a room, they're going to be fitted for uniforms. Some of you don't know that our children need a combination of mind training skills and love that they're missing. And we're going to clothe all of the children that come to this Harriet Tubman site with every type of uniform and an outfit for the weather. There won't be any more sagging pants, because the young boys that come to that, they're going to be outfitted for a uniform. The uniform would be that of the African colors, black, white shirt, and on the uniform will also be an emblem of the studies that they will follow, as well as an emblem of Harriet Tubman. I tell people that I'm a Harriet Tubman kind of guy, and I do believe that this is the key to saving lives. If we get our children in a capacity to teach and train and make them safe, and let us not forget COVID and all the diseases that are out here attacking our children. And all of these education institutions will be put together to fight the diseases and COVID, because in a classroom where we used to have 25 and 30 kids, we will have a breakdown of cubicles, glass and plexiglass cubicles within that classroom, where a child can enter his or her cubicle and be educated, take off his or her mask, and have the screens and all of that instruments where he can connect to his teachers. And many times the teachers don't have to be in that room or even in that class, because we can do distance learning, and I train our children from all types of academia and skill training. I'm excited. I'm almost breathless right now over the opportunity to present this, but we must focus in on our children, especially our young Black boys, and give them that which it takes to the next level in their lives. As I am probably the first and only Black man in this town that's ever put together a school. I was the founder of Thurgood Marshall Academy, the first Black charter school here. And we were assassinated by the charter school management companies who sought to take over and make money off the non-for-profit, and it went bad. And they were eventually put out of this city because of not dealing with the Black community as it should be. The monies that
Thank you, Mr. Monroe. Your time is up. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, I'm used to it. That's what it happens to me in front of the Board of Education. But I thank you for the opportunity.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. It's my understanding that our clerk has a list for the public speakers. Can Ms. Billups, can you provide us with the list? Give us the names.
Yes, ma'am. I have he just put it on here. I have Solis Ellis. I'm gonna move her over.
Okay.
Robin, give her over. Lindsay Nobolt. Paula Vickers. And David Stokes.
Okay. Are they here? Are they on?
They should all be on now.
Okay. All right. Could you all please raise your hand so we could swear you in as our speakers? Is everybody on? They have their cameras on. I see Ms. Ellis, Ms. Noble, Mr. Stokes, Ms. Vickers. Is it someone else? Okay.
Madam Chair, there's one more attendee, Robin. I don't know if she's on the list.
I have Robin. I moved her over. Let's see. Okay.
Is she showed up?
No, she's not coming over.
Okay. All right. Would you all please raise your hand, your right hand? Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth and the whole truth? So help you God, to abstain, or I know it's abstain. I can't remember the other. Tell the truth, the whole truth. Let's go that route.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. We'll let the ladies go first, if that's okay, Mr. Stokes.
That's fine.
Okay, so Ms. Ellis, you want to start? You have 3 minutes.
Hello, good morning. My name is Shawny Ellis, and I'm coming from Vision for Children at Risk and System of Care, speaking on behalf of Joanna Hammonds. And I just wanted to emphasize the importance of the youth with having opportunities for behavioral and mental health activities, services, supports, just anything in the area. And I agree with going to them in the community and finding those persons, whether it's not-for-profits, block parties, and things like that, that can directly get the information to the youth in the community, but definitely emphasizing that mental and behavioral health supports. We often find within our program, we find gaps where either the kiddo doesn't have enough behaviors or criminal activities to be held in detention, or their mental health isn't elevated to where they can get into the facility or get those supports. So really targeting those kids that fall in those gap areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ellis. Ms. Noblot, is that, I pronounced it correctly?
You did.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody, so much. It's so wonderful to hear so many wonderful our community. I am a St. Louis City resident. I'm a proud St. Louis City resident. I also am the program director at Southside Early Childhood Center. We have been around since 1886. We are the oldest child care facility west of the Mississippi. We serve children 6 weeks to 5 years old. We know that getting access to high quality early childhood education can be the difference from a child being left behind and leading the way. We know all over, the nation, early childhood providers have been strapped, providing funds for teaching staff, in order for us to provide high quality care is so critical. That is why we are so excited that, in the proposal, there was $2 million. I will say, however, that is not enough in order for us to continue to support our most precious babies in St. Louis City. We have requested $4.37 million in order to increase funds to the Teach Missouri program, as well as the wages program. That goes into supporting our early educators on the educational continuum. In addition, it provides additional funds for increased wages for our early educators, which I may add that the majority of our early educators not only are women, they're also women of color. They are also women that have babies and children in St. Louis City. They are some of the most wonderful, amazing humans in this city, and they have been responsible for carrying this economy through some of its most devastating times. Many of you may have children under the age of 5, and I have one that's 3. And it is very difficult. So just try to imagine trying to support 23-year-olds in one classroom. It takes a lot of compassion and empathy and love to do that day in and day out. We know that early educators right now are the lowest paid educators, in the nation. They deserve our support and respect. So right now, I just really want to thank everybody for your time and attention to this very critical subject. Please hear us when we say we need additional funds for early childhood. $2 million is great. That's not enough. We need the 4.372 to really make this Teach Missouri Scholarship Program and Wages Program to really support more early educators in St. Louis City. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Ms. Vickers?
Hi, really quick, I want to say I'm from North City, and so many of you had an impact on my life as a child. My first AmeriCorps experience was at Grace Hill. And Shane, I don't know if you remember me, but I remember you. So the work that you all are doing with teens in North City does have an impact. All right, so good morning, St. Louis Board of Aldermen. My name is Paula Vickers, and I'm a resident of the 4th Ward for over 30 years. I'm here with the Early Childhood Power and Policy Action Group, a coalition of 150 plus community members, early childhood programs, and business and philanthropic leaders. I am the mother of a 2.5-year-old Parker and a 1-year-old baby Dre, and they can join us at any time. Today, I request that you all vote in support of our request for $2 million to fund Teach and Wages, 2 programs that can impact hundreds of childcare workers in St. Louis City. You have the power to address a crisis in the childcare system that is currently harming approximately 90,000 children and their families across the region. These programs are important to me because as a parent, I am committed to supporting those who take care of my children while I can continue to go forward in my career. If we are looking to support the advancement of women in the workforce, we have to have a conversation about childcare. Since returning to the office post the peak of the pandemic, I have seen at least 7 very skilled, trained women have to leave their jobs because of childcare. Typically, when the conversation comes of who gets to stay at work, whether it's the mom or the dad, it tends to fall on the mom that has to leave. In St. Louis Facebook group, so there's a Facebook group that is moms desperately trying to find childcare. I see desperate attempts from women looking to strangers just so that they could make their shift. Women from across all type of economic income backgrounds. So we have people that are looking for nannies down to people that are looking for people that could take care of their children for 4 hours or whatever that looks like. But the need is desperate for these moms to continue to be able to provide for their families. Supporting funding for Wages and Teach can help provide early child care spaces with the needed resources to help retain and further train our early child care providers. These funds are a small support to our child care providers, and I cannot stress enough how much we need them. We need them to also have their financial needs to be met. Children require a lot, and we need child care providers to know that they are supported. As a senior manager for a large area nonprofit that works with St. Louis City public schools, private schools, and charter schools, our kids are starting kindergarten behind. These programs, the early childhood programs, they teach them things like using scissors, identifying letters, and even being able to sit at a table. These are skills learned that they should come into kindergarten knowing, but they're seeing that they're falling on the kindergarten teacher. So those skills that they should come in the door already having basic skills, they're not having. So again, I hope that you support this program. Parker wanted to say hi, and thank you for your time today. I appreciated hearing all the conversations. I love St. Louis City. My family has been a part of this community for over 70 years, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Ms. Vickers, very much. Mr. Stokes, I saw that you had put in the chat a statement. Did you still want to say something?
Yes, I would like to. I'll be very brief. I'm not going to repeat the link I put in the chat to my formal testimony. I'll let that stand as it is and hope people check that out. But I do want to share my concerns. I'm the Director of Municipal Policy for the Show Me Institute. We are based in the city of St. Louis. I want to share some concerns about the Guaranteed Income Program, also referred to around the country as Universal Basic Income. That idea certainly brings out strange bedfellows in politics. Supporters of it were named earlier, including Senator Bernie Sanders and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I will tell you that Nobel Prize winning economist Milton Friedman and Charles Murray from the American Enterprise Institute are two people commonly associated with the political right who supported the idea as well. However, they and many supporters of it supported it as a replacement for many of the expensive and bureaucratic welfare programs that we have, and not as an additional program. And that's one of the concerns we have here, is that this isn't replacing any current programs. In fact, as I read in the Post-Dispatch reports on it, it's going to be designed in a way so that people who get the money specifically will not be ineligible for other types of programs. So that's not helping anybody get off of government aid or welfare. And it's just, I know it's targeted in this case towards, as I read the article this morning while sitting waiting to testify, several hundred families with children in public school, but it's not helping those families get more education, get more training. It's not helping them do the things that will move them away from needing the government aid in the first place. So I think it's a dangerous program. It's dangerous is really the right word. I think it's a very concerning program that right now, while you're using $5 million in free, and I'm using air quotes, free federal money, it might not be much of an expense to the city. The Stockton program was mentioned earlier, and I want to point out that the Stockton program was privately funded. That was not stated earlier. That was a pilot program with private money, so not taking tax dollars. So if this program were to become popular, as it very well might, people like getting checks from the government, and the government likes sending people checks, then it's going to become a very expensive program for the city of St. Louis to operate. And I do believe there's just other better ways to target welfare type programs to help people get the education, the work training, and other things that people and families need to help them move off of government assistance, not tie them down to it. And with that, I've got the full testimony there, and I'm sure I've taken up most of my time, and I thank you for the opportunity to testify today.
Thank you, Mr. Stokes. And thank you for your statement. I appreciate it. Now we have Ms. Robin Phillips. Ms. Phillips, could we have you raise your hand, please? Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and abstain or tell the truth?
Sorry, you were breaking up, but yes, I solemnly swear to tell the truth.
Thank you so much. Okay, you have 3 minutes, Ms.
All right,
Phillips.
I'm going to start my timer. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Robin Phillips. I am a child care expert and have been working in the child care systems field for 22 years, and specifically here in Missouri for 15. I'm also an advocate of children and their safety and well-being and opportunities for access to early childhood education, no matter what zip code they live in. All children deserve the opportunity to reach their maximum potential. So the asks that you've heard for the investment in the Teach Missouri Scholarship and Wages program are national programs and have been around for quite some time. Teach has actually been in Missouri for over 20 years and is a highly accountable program. Wages is new. St. Louis County will be helping to launch that with the recent passing of their bill for this investment. And those programs have nationally about a 93 to 94% retention rate and are based on the philosophy of education, compensation, and retention. The child care workforce is not a valued workforce. It's not a valued profession. It's often looked at as an occupation. These folks are making under $12 an hour with no benefits and working long, extensive hours. And like many of you on this call, they are small business owners as well. So they're impacting child's brain development, and they're also running small businesses which pay taxes in the city. I want to focus on just I want to shift a minute just to the economic impact and how childcare impacts the economy. And based on a U.S. Chamber Foundation report that focused on Missouri from 2021, because of the lack of childcare, Missouri has lost over $280 million in income tax and sales tax. I'm not an economist, but I would imagine that St. Louis City and county people crossing the lines to work contribute to a large base of that revenue. And as others have said, people cannot get back to work either because they can't access childcare, everyone's on a waiting list, and we have very high quality programs with closed classrooms. I also wanted to point out that in the city of St. Louis, there's approximate licensed capacity of care of about 11,000 slots. And when you look at the census data, the number of children 0 to 6 with working families who potentially need care is 20,000. So we absolutely don't have enough capacity, which feeds into absolutely not enough capacity for infant toddler care. So thank you for listening to my words today. More than happy to answer any other questions down the road. Thank you for this consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Phillips. I think we allowed all the public speakers to speak, all the public to speak. You don't have anyone else, correct?
No, there are no more speakers.
Okay. And I want to thank all the speakers that stayed on and took the time to tell us your thoughts and your views. That is important to us as legislators. And so we're honored that you stayed with us to give us your input. So on that note, I will turn it over to the sponsor.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. And I want to echo Alderwoman Boyd, Madam Chairwoman, today on that as well. Thank you for all that stayed on. And for the people that didn't, thought they were just going to be able to just raise their hand, they have submitted written testimony that they'll be emailing to us as well. So much has been said, and I'm excited, still as excited as I was at 9 o'clock this morning to ask for your favorable consideration and due pass recommendation on Board Bill 116 Committee Sub.
Do we get a second?
Second.
Okay.
Point of order.
Yes, sir.
The sponsor of the bill is not on the committee. She can't make a motion, so you can't
Well, that's
second.
why you here, so you can educate me. So what do I do here?
Whoever seconded, it's not valid, so we need to make a.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we pass Board Bill 116 committee substitute with a due pass recommendation.
Second.
So that's 4.
Okay.
Actually, point of order on the
You
motion.
gotta undo the first second, correct?
Well, did we actually adopt the committee substitute?
We
I don't
did.
think
We didn't vote. We did. I have a motion
we
and
just-
a second.
we just brought the committee substitute, so we still need to adopt the committee substitute to Board Bill 116. It's not yet 116 committee substitute. So I'll make the motion that we adopt the committee substitute to Board Bill 116.
We did a motion. I got that. We motioned.
Oh,
we made the motion
so Madam-
first. Yes.
I think you weren't there. You weren't there yet, Alderman Cone.
No, I was there for that, but so Madam Chair, you would need to call a vote.
Yes.
On the motion
Adoption.
before us. Yeah, so you would call a vote on the motion before us to adopt the committee substitute. And then once the committee substitute is adopted, then we would basically ask anyone if there's any questions on the bill as it's in its current format, and then move forward with a vote on the final bill.
Right.
Okay. Okay, what Alderman Cone just said.
We already have a motion to adopt.
Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll on the
Yes.
committee substitute? Thanks.
Alderman Cone,
Aye.
Alderwoman Kotar. I'm sorry, Alderman Kotar. Alderwoman Boyd,
Aye.
Alderman Narayan,
Aye.
Alderwoman Evans,
Aye.
Alderman Gunther,
Aye. Aye.
Alderman Todd,
Aye.
Alderwoman Peel,
Aye.
Alderman Gross,
Aye.
Alderman Lappy,
I must abstain as my employer has some interest in the guaranteed minimum income financial interest. So I abstain.
So noted. Alderwoman Keys,
Aye.
Alderwoman Walker, Chair Davis,
Aye.
Alderman Kotar, Alderwoman Walker. Aye. 11 aye votes.
Okay, on your vote, you have sustained the substitute, correct?
The motion to adopt the substitute.
And so now we're going to the vote of the bill.
Yes.
Okay. So now we'll go to the vote of the bill. And so can we get a roll call? Could we get an adoption of that bill?
We need I move that we pass Board Bill 116 committee substitute out of committee with a due pass recommendation.
Second.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved to second. Can we do a roll call?
Alderman
Previous
Cone.
roll.
Somebody said previous roll.
It was previous roll by Alderman Cone.
Correct.
Any objections to previous roll? Okay, not seeing no objections. Board Bill 116 has passed with our votes. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much. And I am so happy to turn it back over to the chair, Alderwoman Davis.
So we now have Board Bill 125. That's next, I believe. And now that Alderman Cone is available, he will chair this part of the committee. Alderman Cone.
Sorry, Madam Chair, I'm just trying to find my buttons here on Zoom. I don't know if you got the text message from me or not, but there is the retirement event for Lisa McNichols, who served our board so diligently for the last 3 decades. And I was hoping that we might be able to adjourn briefly so that some of us would be able to attend the event with Lisa.
Okay. Did it start at noon?
It starts at noon, correct? But some of us aren't currently at City Hall.
No,
Which is
most of us are not at City Hall. And
Right.
also there's a neighborhood development meeting going on, and there's another meeting that starts at noon. So most of us won't be able to attend at all, unfortunately. All these meetings were scheduled. So I'd like to continue with our meeting, please.
Okay. So
If you'd
I'm
like to
planning to
leave.
attend. I'm about to leave. I'm planning to attend. I'm giving Lisa a resolution. So I
Okay.
will be there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I guess it's on me again, huh, Alderwoman Davis?
Yes, it is.
Y'all gonna teach me one way or the other. Okay, it's Board Bill 125. Madam Clerk, would you please read that, please?
Board Bill number 125, introduced by Alderwoman Marlene Davis, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, appropriating a portion of funds received under the American Rescue Act Plan Act of 2021, published in license number 117-2, March 11, 2021, ARPA, authorizing certain expenditures of such funds to the extent received, authorizing contracts and other documents to expend the funds to the extent received, containing a serviceability clause and containing an emergency clause.
Okay, thank you, Alderwoman Davis.
Thank you very much. We have before us Board Bill 125. Again, we're identifying funds that were received through ARPA, and we will also have the opportunity for the Chief of Staff, Jared Boyd, to lead us, and I shall turn the meeting over to him. I do believe that he has a number of staff people who are remaining to assist with this, and we'll identify guest speakers if there are any after his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Boyd, you're on.
Thank you. As stated earlier in the meeting, Board Bill 125 was previously approved by both HUDs and the entire Board of Aldermen. I sincerely apologize for the oversight that occurred in the transition. The previous bill has not changed and should have been approved by Board of Estimate and Apportionment, which has been rectified now, and we humbly ask again for your support for development in areas that have long been in need of this type of work, and we'll defer to the committee as to whether or not you would like me to go again through specific appropriations or answer any questions about those appropriations that were previously discussed.
So I guess my question, because I was so on the 16, how many appropriations did you have on the 125? That's what I didn't get a chance to check that one. I don't know if any other board members had looked at it.
So there are appropriations to the Affordable Housing Commission, CDA, Human Services, Building Division, and Slate. But like I said, I'm happy to answer any questions about those particular line items.
Okay, so does anyone have any questions for Mr. Boyd? Does any committee members have any questions? So I guess my question, you said it was affordable housing, and you said Slate, and you said the building division. So what were we looking to allocate into the building division?
Sure. So the Economic Justice Action Plan calls for a whole host of investments to revitalize some of our neighborhoods that have long deserved this type of attention. The building division will play a role in helping to stabilize privately owned property. So there's an allocation for $8 million for the building division to stabilize privately owned property. We're working with the state on funds to secure LRA property, whether that's demolition or stabilization. So we have some resources there for the property that we have long neglected to finally address those properties, while at the same time recognizing that people sometimes pass by dilapidated structures and don't know if the city owns them or if it's a out-of-town LLC that's owning them. So we have to address all of these types of properties.
Okay, and so you all are looking to stabilize those properties, Jared? That's what I'm trying to find out. If they're private or city, you're looking to stabilize those properties.
So the specific appropriation for the building division is for privately owned property.
For
and
private.
what we do is for houses that have been condemned, houses that have received notice of violations, whether your roof is falling in or the bricks are in jeopardy of falling on another house, or there's some other visible kind of signs of decay, the building division would have the money to go in and say to a landowner, you need to make these repairs or we will do that for you. And the we will do that for you is an important tool to have, because there will be some landowners that are going to have to pay us back for this money. Some money we might not get back, but there will be some landowners that will be paying us back because we can put these repairs on their property tax assessment. Like I said, this is a tool to hold privately owned landowners accountable, and to provide some relief to the people who live in these neighborhoods with these negligent properties, unfortunately. But the good thing, like I said, about these $8 million funds is we will get some of this money back.
Okay. And so are we looking at, and like I said, I hadn't had a chance to review it. Are we looking at staffing for the building division?
Yes.
Because I know that's a big question that keeps popping up with our city employees, salaries and staffing.
Yes, they will be able to use some of these funds for staff. A lot of this money will be spent on bidding out the projects. So
Okay.
private contractors will be doing a lot of this work.
Okay, all right. Alderman Cone, you have your hand up. Maybe he missed to say. Did anybody else have any questions for Mr. Boyd?
I do have my hand up, Madam
Oh,
Chair.
okay.
These buttons are being particularly stubborn with me today. It keeps wanting to open up my camera or whatever, the view, the picture on the camera. Anyway, I'm very much in support of this. I view it as an extension of the voter-supported Prop NS, but addressing more of the privately owned properties. As all of us are probably aware, Prop NS only exclusively deals with the LRA property, and it doesn't even address LRA properties that were multi-use or commercial, which many of us, particularly in Southeast City, North City, have LRA properties that fall outside of the purview of Prop NS. So I do think this is very much needed for stabilization of our communities, both in terms of the LRA properties that fell outside of the purview of NS, and also for the private, particularly for the private properties that are plaguing many of our communities. So I very much rise in support of this.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Todd.
I rise in support of this. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, committee people. I rise in support of this because of all of the, I just don't want to, the history of these buildings. Many of them in the 18th ward were very solid, good buildings, but these people, these LLC people and LRA who don't even live in the neighborhood, leave these buildings year after year, and eventually the roof cave in. Then after inclement weather gets in over a period of time, and then it thaws, it freezes, then thaws. I've seen several occasions throughout the 18th ward where they are the main eyesore on these blocks. They're the ones who got my constituents upset. My constituents take good care of their property, but then someone who doesn't even live out of town in many cases. And these LRA people don't live in the 18th ward, neither, because it's a state agency, even though it has a board. This board is composed of people who are actually representing some the city. And so this affects our mental health, it affects our property value, it affects our safety. And so I rise in support of this, and I'm so happy that we're going to make those people, LLC and LRE, to pay this money back. And we have to get a handle on these LLC. We should put our residents, the voters and the taxpayers and the hard workers first, not somebody who doesn't live out of, not someone who doesn't even live in the neighborhood. So I strongly rise in support of holding them accountable. And thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, committee people. I yield.
Thank you. Does anybody else have anything else? Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Mr. Boyd, you want to close out? Anything else you have to say?
Sure. Thank you again to the committee and for your patience in handling this bill. I appreciate your previous support and look forward to your continued support, even if this is approved and signed into law, we will continue to work with you and lean on you because you are the experts in your neighborhood for a lot of these investments. Want to give a shout out to Alderman Todd. I think some of these appropriations are directly out of the Todd plan, but we
Okay, thank you. You
Yeah.
know, thank you, Mr. Boyd. I really appreciate you. I've been fighting for this all my adult life. So finally, I thank you so much. This is a wonderful day. When I leave the board, I can rest in peace now that somebody both acknowledged it and also put it and implemented it. And more than anything else, it's not about me. This is about our neighborhood looking better. This is about safer, increasing our tax base, increasing generational wealth. This is wealth, saving our beautiful, beautiful brick buildings, appreciating them, appreciating our city. We have a beautiful, beautiful city. We have more than enough to offer, and we need to appreciate what we got. And this is a step in the right direction. And we need to continue to push our city because we have the greatest city in the world. And thank you again. We have some of the greatest leadership starting with the mayor and her staff in the world. So thank you so much. I appreciate you, Mr. Boyd.
All right.
And the mayor. And tell the mayor I
Anything else,
appreciate-
Mr. Boyd?
Okay, I didn't know that was Mr. Long as that's not to Mr. Boyd, I'm not messing with you. I didn't mean, I don't want Mr. Boyd or the chairwoman running up here chasing me because I can't run. Thank you, Mr. Boyd.
Alderwoman Davis, you want to close?
Thank you very much for highlighting those things that are in Board Bill number 125. As I do remember in the discussion that we had previously, that the entire board was very supportive and that we are on our way to addressing some of those needs that have been neglected for a number of years and were exacerbated by the pandemic and the increase of crime. So, Madam Chair, I ask for favorable consideration of Board Bill 125. I move that we adopt Board Bill 125.
It's been moved in second. Could we have a roll call?
I'd like to ask for previous.
Objection to previous roll. The Alderman from the abstained.
Thank you.
Oh, that's right. Thank you for recognizing. Thank you.
Okay, could we have a roll call, please?
Alderman Cone,
Aye.
Alderman Kotar, Alderwoman Boyd,
Aye.
Alderman Ryan,
Aye.
Alderwoman Evans,
Aye.
Alderman Gunther,
Aye.
Alderman Todd,
Aye.
Alderwoman Peel,
Aye.
Alderman Gross, Alderman Lappy,
Aye.
Alderwoman Keys,
Aye.
Alderwoman Walker, aye. Chair Davis,
Aye.
Alderman Kotar, Alderman Gross. We have 11 aye votes.
With that said, Board Bill 125 has passed. Is that the correct bill? Trying to make sure I'm on the right point. Okay. With your vote, does anybody have any other questions or comments? I'll turn it back over to the chair.
Okay. I'm enjoying myself today.
When you happy, Madam Chair, I'm elated. So I'm enjoying.
Oh my goodness. It is more than a notion, I tell you.
Take you out to lunch, Madam Chair, not to flirt with you. You're so cute, but just to
Thank you. Thank you so
I'm not
much.
flirting, but you're just so pretty, but I can't help it.
We have a full agenda today and we're not done yet. So let's labor on and try to finish this in a short period of time if possible. And so we still have, oh my goodness. We still have Board Bill, oh my God.
We still have Board Bill 121, 129, and Resolution 140.
That's true. And Board Bill 129 is mine. Okay. So I guess you're not done.
I was gonna say, here we go.
I just looked over that. I was ready to take it back. So I shall turn it back over to you with Board Bill 129.
Yes, ma'am. So we now have Board Bill 129 before us. Madam Clerk, would you please read it?
Board Bill number 129, introduced by Alderwoman Marlene Davis, an ordinance appealing Section 4 of ordinance number 64517 by dissolving the special allocation funds for agro redevelopment area and terminating the designation of a portion of the city of St. Louis, Missouri as a redevelopment area and authorizing certain actions relating thereto.
Okay.
Thank you. Alderwoman Davis, you're on.
Thank you very much. This is a normal practice that we do when a project has actually finished its TIF process, and or if a project never started, to eliminate it out of the system. I believe Zachary Wilson is available to give us some detail.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Alderwoman. This is for the Argyle TIF. It has fully paid off, and we would like to retire it. By state statute, we would have to retire it through an ordinance. So that's why this is in front of you. After this, all taxes collected in that area would be going directly to the taxing districts. Tom Ray from the Comptroller's office is here. If you have any questions also.
Okay. Mr. Ray, did you have anything you'd like to add?
I believe you've covered it.
No. Okay, I thank you so much. One of the things that I wanted to share very quickly, Madam, before we go to the committee, is many people have a lot of concern about TIFs and tax abatement. But one of the things most people don't understand that we have no 100% TIFs or tax abatements for the city of St. Louis. That is additional misinformation. And we also have the ability to look at a project in its performance. And we have done that since I've been at the board to change an allocation. So educating our public for the future and paying attention to giving more detail as we operate in the HUD's committee and have been for the past few years, I think has a lot of credence, because if the public doesn't understand process and procedure, it is really what I consider to be a harmful way for them to be only talked to by politicians. And so as we move forward, I'm hoping that we will continue to do this. I have plans to continue the process that Alderman Rhodey had in place, and making sure that we have periodic opportunities to have sessions of understanding. And the most credible people are those who actually administer these programs. And so again, I am grateful for always having the staff, the most competent staff, the professional staff available to us as we move forward in our deliberations. And I'll yield back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Alderwoman Davis. On that note, does anybody have any questions or comments on regards to the bill? And the only comment that I have is people, because I've been hearing ever since I've been down here, is corporate welfare, don't do the tax and the TIF. But I don't think people, now we send the fruition of the is closing out, and where the city and the SLPS is going to benefit double, because all of it is coming back to them. So I just want people to understand it's not as Alderwoman Davis said, as simple as people thinking it is. But it was an education process when Alderman Rhodey was on HUD because he was a teacher also. So he kind of taught us a lot about that. So on that note, I'll ask for a vote. Can we take a vote on this?
Get a motion.
We need a motion. Okay. Could I get a motion? Shane left, so nobody's talking, huh?
I'll move that we pass Board Bill 129 out of HUD's with a do pass recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. And so now we'll take a vote.
Alderman Cone, Alderman Kotar, Alderwoman Boyd,
Aye.
Alderman Orion,
Aye.
Alderwoman Evans,
Aye.
Alderman Gunther,
Aye.
Alderman Todd,
Aye.
Alderwoman Peel,
Aye.
Alderman Gross, Alderman Lappy,
Aye.
Alderwoman Keys,
Aye.
Alderwoman Walker,
Aye.
Chair Davis,
Aye.
Alderman Cone, Alderman Kotar, Alderman Gross. We have 10 aye votes.
Thank you. On your vote, you have passed out Board Bill 125. And now I will turn it back to the chair.
Oh, thank you very much. So we have still have Board Bill 121. Am I correct, Madam Clerk?
Yes, ma'am. Board Bill 121.
Okay, can we read the preamble on that, please?
Yes, Board Bill number 121, introduced by Alderwoman Shameen Clark Hubbard and Alderman Michael Gross. An ordinance repealing paragraph A of section 2 of ordinance number 69915, approved on January 20th, 2015, and in lieu thereof, a new paragraph is enacted, as extending the period of time during which the developer placed special business district shall be permitted to collect the tax within the boundaries therein established, submitting to the qualified voters residing in a developer place special business district a proposal to continue the levy of a tax on the real property located in said district for 10 years, submitting said proposal to the voters of said district at the general election on April 4th, 2023, and containing effectiveness and emergency clauses.
Okay, the sponsor, Alderwoman Hubbard.
Thank you so much, Madam Chairwoman and members of the committee. Back again, hoping for your favorable consideration and do pass recommendation for Board Bill 121. There were some speakers that were on earlier, but they had to hop off. Ms. Stephanie Brown, one of the members of the board, and a couple of others, and there were some written testimonies offered as well. But this is a very active and very engaged SBD within the 26, shared within the 26, former 26th and 28th ward, now new current 10th ward. And that's why we're here asking for the renewal in Board Bill 121.
Okay. So we don't have any speakers listed currently?
We had one, but she had to hop off. She reached out and said she had to hop off. So that was only Stephanie Brown, so we can take her off. She was in support. She's one of the board members.
All right, but you do have written statements that will be submitted to us as well through the drive. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And we can go, why don't we do it the easy way? If there are any committee members that have any questions of the sponsor, please just open your mic and ask your question. Thank you.
Alderman Gross was on in support as well, but I think he had to hop off. I don't see him anymore.
Okay.
I was saying for questions.
Okay. Any questions? It appears we have no questions. So you may close.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, members of the committee, re-asking for favorable consideration and do pass recommendation for Board Bill 121.
Okay. So the chair accepts a motion. Did you motion?
I believe someone on the committee has the motion, if that's.
Right, somebody on the committee.
I move that we pass Board Bill 121 out due pass.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved in second to adopt Board Bill number 121.
Previous roll.
Okay. Here, any objections? Hearing none, we have adopted Board Bill 121 with a due pass recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm looking here and give me some. Have we done resolution 140?
We need to do resolution 140.
Okay. And is there, Miss Alderwoman Hubbard, you're the sponsor?
Yes, ma'am. This, yes, Madam Chairwoman, this was the necessary resolution accompanying Board Bill 121.
Okay. So why don't you go ahead and share with us? Did you need anything read by the clerk?
I don't think so. I don't think I don't want to put her through reading the whole resolution. It's just with this process for people, the public might be watching, and it's all public information as well. You can look it up. This is part of the process in renewing this SBD, the Bolivar Place SBD. It had to have this accompanying petition, which is here. I'm sorry, resolution and petition is in there as well. So that's the gist of what that is, of what this resolution is.
Okay. Are there any questions from the committee members? Please feel free to open your mic if you do.
I guess it probably would be good, Madam Chairwoman, to add this to your lessons that that you're going to be upcoming doing, because I don't remember if Alderman Rhodey did one on the process of the SBD and renewing the SBD, and I know we're working to make sure that people know fully how that works. So that would be good to add that to the list.
Yeah, I think before you guys got on there, he had done that class.
Okay.
Because we had like 200 people show up on an SBD, and it all had to start from square one. So yeah, it's interesting. It's time again. Let's see here. So we hear no questions from the committee, and I'd like the chair will accept a motion for the approval of resolution 140.
I make a motion to approve resolution 140.
Second.
Moved in second. Could we entertain previous row?
Previous row.
Any objections? Hearing none, we have adopted resolution 140.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And now looking at this most complicated list of, I want to make sure that we've covered all the board bills and all the resolutions. And am I correct, Madam Chair?
Yes, ma'am, you are correct. We just have committee discussions.
And community discussion, we want to talk about the annual TIF first. And we do have, do we not have some speakers on that?
Alderwoman, this is Zach Wilson with SLDC. We would like to continue that portion to next week's HUD's meeting, if that's okay.
So noted.
Thank you, Alderwoman.
Also under community discussion, there was something else under there.
Bolivar Place Special Business District.
Jeez. And so do we need to talk about that again? Alderwoman Hubbard or Zach Wilson?
I don't think we do, but if anybody has any questions, I'm hoping everybody is comfortable with it.
Well, I'm not sure how I got there.
Right, I was wondering that too. I'm not sure either. That's why it surprised me.
The clerk's office puts the agenda together, and all the persons request their items to be on the agenda through the clerk's office. So I'm not sure either. So we will make sure that we find out about that item. So we know that we will continue with the discussion on TIFs, annual TIFs next week under discussion. So the clerk has made a note of that. Another item that I wanted to add under discussion for new business, it is one of the things that I think when you know you have something that should have further discussion and complete commitment from all involved, you should make it happen. So what I'd like to do is to ask the committee to indulge me in a process that we will add to this HUD's committee for the balance of the time that we have in this session. And we shall evaluate and discuss the TIDE plan. I plan to send a memo to the president of the board of aldermen to ask that all due diligence is supported in this discussion. I also am going to ask for direction from committee members and the president of the board, as well as Alderman Todd, if in our discussions and evaluations of the need of the TIDE plan, if we should create a board bill and or should we create a committee, which I believe we need a committee. I would ask all members of this HUD's committee to consider supporting the evaluation of the TIDE plan. I think that we should discuss it in whatever form is agreed upon between the president of the Board of Aldermen, Alderman Todd, and myself as the chair, whether that will be a board bill and or simply a discussion of a plan of action that will then be forwarded through a resolution to those entities that we deem necessary. So I would like to definitely look at talking about that for just a few minutes here and get some feedback from our committee members, our HUD's committee members, please. Feel free to open your mic and give any comments that you have.
Well, first of all, since I would like for other people to do it, I appreciate your support, Madam Chair. I appreciate the committee support, certainly. And I appreciate the idea that you said you wanted broad participation, because I would like to just look at it as a plan that benefits the city. And that's why it's so important to have your support, the committee support, the president's support, the mayor's support, and everyone's support, based on the fact that it is beneficial to our constituents, our city, and ourselves, because we live in the community too. So that's just appreciating that it won't just be an individual like myself, but it will be our plan, our city's plan. And that's what I look at it as. And in fact, I won't call anyone's name who is not here, but on many occasions, almost 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago, I met with elected officials, and I won't call their name, who I wanted to change it from the TIDE plan and make it a broader plan where it would be, we said north side plan. It could have been added on north and south and central west end plan. You know, it should be as broad as possible because it's going to benefit the city. It's going to make the city safer, at least when all of us have our input. I've only had my input, but I believe in maximum feasible citizen participation. That's where the best ideas come from, not from one individual like myself or anyone. Again, I yield back and thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Well, one of the things I think is important is, and I will ask that you provide what you have currently and to the board clerk so it can be disseminated not only to the HUD's committee members, but to the entire board so that we can take the plan and analyze it properly. We want to take each individual item and determine the need of each individual item. There would not be any purpose to talk about it unless that is done. We need to make sure that we don't already have services and or programming. We need to know where we need to include servicing or programming and at what level that should be. So let's get ready to do some work. Okay.
Thank you so much, and I'm excited about it. I like the work. I like to see things happen. Thank you.
All righty. So please know that as the chair of the committee, I am not ashamed ever to appoint members to a ad hoc committee. So I'm asking for volunteers right now, and I'm hoping a lot of people will want to get involved.
I'll volunteer.
Well, you're a given, okay?
Okay.
All righty. Do we have any other volunteers? I know we have a lot of new members to the committee. This is a good way to learn more about services that are provided by the city, as well as how HUD operates in incorporating things into bills and appropriating as well.
Yes,
So I'm hoping to
Madam
see-
Chair, I'm happy to volunteer.
Thank you so much. Do we have some others?
Please add me.
All right.
And me.
Okay. Where are we at here? I don't think I have the whole list of names for this committee. I still don't think I have it right. So how about I heard somebody, who was that?
That was me. You want me to read the names off?
Yes, ma'am, because I still don't think I have the right list.
Okay. Alderwoman Boyd,
Okay,
Alderman Narayan. Alderwoman Evans, okay. Gunther,
okay,
Alderwoman Peel,
okay.
Alderman Grass. He's not on it. Lappy.
Lappy.
Alderwoman Keys, she already, okay. Alderwoman Walker
Okay.
and Cone and Kotar are absent today. Or
Mhm.
Kotar is absent, rather.
Okay. I don't know why I thought Alderwoman Rice was on this committee.
No, she's not on this committee.
Okay. All righty. And then where am I at? I would really like to have Alderwoman Peel and Alderman Gunther to volunteer because of two reasons. One is a lot of the things that are in the TIE plan, Alderwoman Peel has addressed on many other occasions, and Alderman Gunther has been a part of different programs that I think you could bring some good advice to that is in the TIE plan. So I'm asking for you, both of you, to be a part of that committee. Even though we are always a committee of the whole, I would hope that we can work with Alderman Todd to really flesh this out and make sure that we don't miss anything and get the appropriate eyes on this.
Chairman, I'd be happy to dive into the Todd plan.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, how about Alderwoman Peel?
Thank you. I appreciate bringing up the Todd plan, and I look forward to moving that forward.
Thank you so much. Madam Clerk, did you comprehend those members who have volunteered?
Yes, ma'am. I have Alderman Todd, of course, Alderwoman Keys, Alderwoman Evans, Alderman Lappy, Alderman Gunther, and Alderwoman Peel.
Excellent crew. And we're going to get busy. I'm definitely going to be there, okay? So I will draft my request to the President of the Board of Aldermen for support on this, and also we will notify the president of SLDC and the director of CDA, and all other entities that might have to be involved, that we'll be calling on them for information and/or presentation. So we're going to be active, and the first thing for us to do is to look at this and to identify the need for information. And hopefully we can, see, I'm a proponent of doing 30-minute meetings because that makes you do the work and be done. So if we can do a 30-minute on the mornings before our HUD, it would be really helpful. And that way we'll have that ready for the discussion, because we will discuss this every HUD meeting. Okay? So I'm hoping that some other members of the committee, do you have any items for discussion? And always feel free to send them to the clerk to be included on the agenda. Any other members of the committee have any items that they'd like to discuss? Hearing none, I'd like to move on to, we have just one member of the committee that was absent.
Yes, that was Alderman Kotar.
So we shall excuse Alderman Kotar for necessary absence today. And let's see here. Okay, so we had no that. We're good. So what we will do is make note that for this committee, I'm not sure how other committees operate for those who are new. It is always imperative that if you would like a board bill that you may have, because I know a lot of you probably haven't had a board bill yet, but if you have a board bill that you'd like to be on the HUD's committee agenda, send a memo to the clerk's office. The clerk will determine the agenda and let me know that you're putting it on there. I am not going to make decisions about people's bills. That is not my role that I choose to play. I am just the chairperson for reference of moving the meeting forward and keeping order here. But other than that, total responsibility comes from alderpersons to make sure that they follow process and procedure of the clerk's office and getting notice for their bills to be heard. And on some occasions, as like today, we had some last minute things where people had other commitments and we may move it around. So how it's listed on the agenda may not necessarily be how it would be heard. But I do appreciate everybody because this was a long meeting. It was a complicated meeting. I complicated it in the beginning and I take my blame for that. And I apologize. We also have a lot of members. And so meetings will be longer because we want to make sure everybody who has a need to speak shall speak. And this HUD's process is going to be tight for the next, I think we have like 5 more meetings before we go out of sessions. And we may have to add a meeting. That's another thing we need to look forward to because we got so many bills that are so important that I know all of you want to make sure that they're passed. So we may have to add one, but I'll try to give you as much notice as possible. And I thank you for today. I ask for a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn the HUD's meeting.
Second.
Second.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Be safe.
All right.